This conference will now be recorded.
Did you have a cough?
No, I never had much of a cough. It's just a lot of close nasal drip and achiness.
He's sick.
Always a learning
I had
curve.
a cough.
He's still sick.
How are you, sir?
That was what was going through the hospital. Everybody was just not feeling real sick.
He's still sick.
If the room clears.
Don't take it personal.
I tell you what's running around.
You had COVID, right?
I just got some negative too.
Viruses.
Yeah.
And you had it?
No, I never had.
I've had it twice. Yeah.
Yeah. People driving, young people driving.
All right, everybody, it's 9:30. Let's bring this meeting to order, please. So call to order. You want to do the roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Baird.
Here, present.
Ms. Hanson.
Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Kish.
Here.
Mr. Truckee. Here. Mr. McNamara.
Here.
You have the quorum, sir.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They were laying here. I don't know if Cal got another one or not.
I'm sorry, what?
He was short.
Oh, there's three there. Kevin, you didn't request one, so you got his.
Okay.
No, the bound packet.
I brought these from home.
Yeah. I think she emailed them to you, but they don't get them emailed.
Well,
They
we can
get
share
a-
mine.
You
Share
got
mine.
two there.
Here.
One is,
We'll share one. That's fine.
no, under that pile, there's two packets. One is Dan's. Now, the one on your,
He's talking about a binded one. See this?
there's two in there.
Well, she got one, I got one, he got one. You said three, right?
December.
No. Okay, there's two there. There's only one there. Well, I sent three out. Three bound packages. And I'm not sure how Gabby gets them to Kevin or Annalise, but I think, does she FedEx them to you?
No, she
Or
put them online.
Yeah, so you just download it.
Yeah, we
If
should,
you want,
next time we can bring along
the
a
packet.
iPad and we can have them on our iPads.
Right,
Okay.
but I brought three. There's
Okay.
three here somewhere.
I have one. I have two.
Well, I brought you, because you weren't supposed to get a bound packet. You were supposed to get just the handouts that we sent out yesterday.
Okay, so what do you want back? Does anybody want?
Okay, just to acknowledge the gentlemen from Intramark are here again as well today. They just did that as a courtesy. If anyone wants to speak with them, feel free to do that. Annalise, didn't you get in touch with someone else as well?
Mr. Mayor, you may want to approve the agenda first.
I just wanted to make sure that these guys were recognized. Okay,
So,
but we've got one more company that's looking at doing management here as well. We just don't have a number from them yet. Okay, so shall we approve the agenda? You guys have all seen
Any
it?
changes? Yeah, I don't think we have any changes.
Anyone have any changes?
I didn't see FEMA list on here. Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, thanks. Come on.
Good,
Yes.
Kevin?
Looks good to me.
All right,
It's fine.
make a motion to approve the agenda?
And that was as amended, because we added the GIS.
Yeah, that's right,
agreement.
as amended.
So the amended agenda that's in front of you.
Yes,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Audience comments on the agenda items? Did we have anybody?
Is there an agenda? No, I'm sorry, I walked out without that file.
so.
Which file? was that?
Gabby did it, the one with the agendas and the sign up sheet to speak.
Okay. So if there's anybody in here who wants to speak on anything that's an agenda item, you're welcome to as at now. Did you have something that you wanted to say?
I just want to say thank you for the board's consideration. If there is any concern regarding the contract, we'd be glad to address those concerns.
All right, we appreciate your time. No comments? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if Chair's indulgence, I'll create a sign-up sheet and place it here for anybody that wants to speak.
That would be for the end. Okay, approval of the minutes of the meeting.
And you have two meetings.
Do we want to do the special meeting first? Or no, we do the last
Board meeting.
board
Do
meeting.
them separately or at the same time?
We can both do them at the same time. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Okay.
Your meeting.
Okay. And then, has anybody looked at the minutes and had any issues that you want to bring up? I have some stuff that I don't think is worth the time. So should we move to approve the two sets of meeting minutes, the last full-time meeting and then the special meeting that we had?
Make a motion, we approve both meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman?
I second it.
If I just, the minutes, the agenda says draft regular meeting minutes for December 16th, but it appears those are special meeting minutes for December 16th. And I'm just kind of,
No, there was a meeting on December 16th.
There was a meeting on the
A
16th
regular
and
meeting
one on the 11th.
16th.
well,
The
but,
11th was a special meeting.
okay, only because at the beginning of the December 16th meeting, it says a special meeting was held on Friday, December 16th.
That's for the 11th.
That threw me off, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that looks right.
Okay, we'll strike special and put regular.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, no problem.
And if I may, I have an additional comment on the minutes, just for clarification.
Go for it.
When it talks about present, it says present parentheses or by web conference and constituting a quorum. I think it's important to clarify that all board members were present in person, I believe, at that meeting. Am I not mistaken?
I'm not sure. That's what, Kevin, did you miss that meeting?
The 11th.
Kevin was.
No,
there.
the
The
Yes.
16th,
Kevin, huh?
December meeting, right?
Yes.
You're talking
December
about.
meeting is the first.
It was a
I
special meeting.
was the only one that wasn't.
Russ wasn't here.
I'm sorry?
Russ wasn't here.
And it does say who was and who was online in the first order of business, call to order.
Well, I think it would be helpful to say all board members were present in person except Supervisor Kish in line, after line 8, just for clarification.
For a special meeting, all board members are present except Kevin Barrett. It says right in.
That's the
Yeah,
other
on the
one.
16th, it says Mr. Kish.
That is the,
That's the 11th.
this is the special meeting.
I guess the only question.
It's all
I have is,
mixed together.
were any board members present remotely on December 16th?
No.
I guess that's,
No.
so I would suggest that on line 3, take out or by web conference. Because if everybody was present in person.
All right.
I think it's just, again, clarify.
You want to do that, Cal?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No problem.
On line 4, you're saying take out or by web conference.
Line 3.
Line 3, Okay.
Or by web conference.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
assume you want that taken out on both.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, December 16th meeting minutes on line 79, page 11. DeBost is spelled capital.
Which is that?
Line 79 on page 11 of December 16th.
Okay.
Attorney Richard DeBost, capital D, small e, capital B, O-E-S-T.
The December 16th,
That's, yes. Yes,
line 76,
79.
70, oh, I'm sorry. Richard, could you
Close.
spell that?
Capital D, small e, capital B, OEST, and then also appears in the 3 lines down.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Utility operations. Mitch, please.
Good morning. Morning.
The wastewater plant, we met all of our requirements. We had no issues. The water plant, no issues, met all of our requirements. We slowly been backing down the chlorine. I don't know if you can tell out the distribution system. It's not as strong as it was, but we still have a really good residual out there. We treated 2.23 million gallons of wastewater, 2.24 of water, sent 8.4 million gallons out in reuse. Inspected all the pump stations, everything's working good there. No odor complaints. On the maintenance, the floating aerator that we had out for repair, that came back, we installed it, it's back in operation. The number 3 calcite tank that failed, we sent it out and had it repaired this time instead of replaced. It worked fine, so we've installed that, it's working great now. We had a DEP inspection, which we got a letter, and in that DEP inspection, we have to install a TDS, continuous TDS analyzer, chlorine and pH for the reuse. That's about $15,000.
Ouch.
And there's only 2 companies that are solid that make them. They're within hundreds of dollars of each other. So there's really no difference in price. We'd like to use the Swan analytical meter, if you're okay with that. But that's something that has to be done per our DEP inspection. Also in that DEP inspection, the master lift station on Case Drive, the one closest to 41, that one is going to need to be coated on the inside, which means they pump it down, put it on bypass, sandblast it, and they put an epoxy coating on it. That's part of the DEP letter as well. And I've got 3 companies or 3 local companies that do that. I got them coming to give us pricing on that. So at the next board meeting, I'll have that for you.
You got a ballpark on that?
$20,000.
Ouch.
Are these new things or are they just?
No, so all of your stations are coated, and that's probably something you can plan on every year. As the coating starts to go bad, they'll have to be recoated. So
We didn't see that in our CIP, did we?
I don't think that was in the CIP, and that's kind of something new the DEP's been writing us up on.
Okay.
It's not, it doesn't have to be done today, but before that next inspection next year,
Okay.
we'll want to get that covered.
All right.
So, and again, I got 3 companies coming out to bid that, so
Okay.
we'll get you the best price on that. On the ground, we had a groundwater exceedance in one of the monitoring wells. It had a high nitrate, or actually it had a high TDS. So I've reached out to Omar Rodriguez. He's a geologist, and he'll look into that. And then from that, I'll bring you back, what he recommends we do moving forward with that.
ITDS? For us, TDS.
Oh, total dissolved solids.
Okay.
So it's just particles in the water. And most always, it's nothing to do with the wastewater plant. It has to do with the water quality around you. But, the DEP will not take my word for it or yours. They want a geologist to come and look at it. He's usually really good and efficient.
Is that the monitoring station right by the pond there?
So the one I think that had the exceedance is the one right here in Orchid Cove, right on the edge of the bank. And it is just, so we have wells that are strategically placed throughout the community that we go out and pull a sample. We actually hire a company, an outside company. They come and pull a sample out of that every month. And that is to see if the water that we are putting out on the line from the wastewater plant is affecting the groundwater. But we only had it in the one right by the lake. We didn't have it anywhere else in the community. So that's usually an indication that it's something to do with the water that it's close to. But again, the geologist has to.
Are we testing for lead yet in the ones back there?
No, but I did put in for lead testing to be done. So those samples have been pulled, I'm sure. When I get the results, I'll let you know.
Now, where would those be being pulled?
So we're going to pull from the drinking water wells, the 3 wells that we pull our drinking water. And we do, part of the permit, we have to do every other year lead and copper sampling. And that always comes back perfectly fine. And that's in the drinking water. But what we're going to pull now, just for our own peace of mind, is out of the wells because of the gun club.
Okay, so you're going to monitor close to the gun club?
Well, the 3 wells are behind the gun club.
You mean way out, mile and a half?
We're just going to pull it just to make sure that there's nothing in there. You have an RO, it removes everything.
Well, my concern is, I'm wondering is if we could possibly begin lead leaching that will be going into the new development, if we should have some type of a monitoring thing there.
I can have them pull a sample out of the monitoring wells for lead if you want as well. That's
the one right by the corner there we talked about, right?
Yeah, so there's one there in the corner, and then there's 2 here in Orchid Cove. So that kind of give you an idea of if it's moving this way or if there's anything in the water. Sure.
Okay.
So, and they're not all that expensive. So I'll go ahead and have them pull those as well.
Perfect.
Just so we know.
Thank you.
This year you're coming up on a permit renewal.
Okay.
Permit renewal is 5 years. You have to do it every 5 years. That has to be done by an engineer. So you need to get with an engineer and secure that it has to be applied for by the first week of June. So you have 5 months to get it taken care of, but that is something that we'll have to do.
Who has done that in the past?
Always Home Montez has done that for you.
Mitch, for the board's education, how long does it typically take to prepare the application? Are you saying the application has to be in the door by June 1st?
It has to be in the door by June 1st. It's due 180 days after that, but the initial application has to be June 1st. So
what would generally be the lead time to get the necessary material?
I would say within a couple months, they can pull together everything they need, apply, and then they have that 6-month window to work with the DEP to secure it.
There's probably no reason to put it off. This is well get it done, right?
It's up to you. I mean, it has to be done.
It's got to be done. I just soon get it done.
So, I mean, you'll have to get
An engineer
to give you, our engineer to give you a price.
We'll do it. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask one more question. Is that with DEP or South Florida for the water?
No, that's with DEP.
Okay.
It's for the wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, the plant
Yeah,
itself.
it's the wastewater
Okay.
permit. Every
Hello,
5
this is
years.
David. Hello, this is David Schmidt.
Hey, Dave.
Hi there. We
Go
were
ahead.
aware the permit was coming up due, and I've got somebody working on a proposal to go ahead and complete the permit renewal, and we'll have that to you in the next few weeks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
You feeling better?
So little complications from the surgery. I'll have to leave the call early. I've got about 11 o'clock appointment with the doctor.
No problem. Thanks, Dave.
Also, because you've reached 50% of your plant's maximum rated capacity, you have to have an engineer do a capacity analysis report. And that's something that David can do as well.
That's typically part of the permit renewal is the capacity analysis report. Plus, we do go out on site and we do what's called a operation and maintenance type report also. So that's all part of the process for the permit renewals.
Dave, could you give me an idea what kind of ballpark figure that permit might cost?
It's been a while since I've done one, and actually we'll be having our environmental specialist be doing that, Dawn Bernard. She's been doing those for, I would probably say since the late 1990s.
Okay.
So she's very familiar with your facility and can put that together most efficiently.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Lastly, the new generator for the well field, that came in. I spoke with Dan. We decided instead of putting it back on the concrete pad that's back there, we're gonna elevate it 3 feet. So I have concrete scheduled. But in order to do that, we have to fix the road. I have the rock that I actually pushed them off. They were planning on coming last week. The culverts, I had a company come and try to locate the water line, which we were able to locate with ground penetrating radar. But the culverts, we have to decide when we want to replace those. So I got a quote for the big culvert at $9,200. All the little ones are $6,200.
Is that installed?
That's installed, and that's locating. They come out with a GPR, locate the well line, and then physically dig down to it and manually and locate it. That way that well line is not damaged during that culvert replacement. So
I got an idea. You're not gonna wanna run a cement truck all the way to that end if you don't have to, right?
well, we can run a cement truck back there, but we don't want to do it until those culverts are fixed.
Well, I had an idea on that. I got that skid steer with the traps. It's not gonna take that much concrete, right?
I think 8 yards is to raise that.
That
3
much?
foot. Yeah.
Oh,
It's-
because I was thinking we could just run it down there with a skid steer
Yeah, I
back and
thought that
forth.
as well, but then when we did the calculation,
Too much.
and if we're gonna raise it, we're gonna go ahead and make it a little bigger so that it really is a good fit. But
Okay.
it's 8 yards of concrete.
All right.
Generator we bought, it will do all 3 wells. The old one would only run 2 wells. It's a little bit bigger generator.
So how big is this one?
50 kW.
Another one
Has
was,
enough fuel to run 7 days.
how many gallons is that?
150, I think.
Really?
I don't remember the
That's
exact
pretty
gallon
good.
amount, but
Under load?
under load, yeah.
Wow.
Because even under load with those 3 wells, it's only running at like 40%.
Okay.
It's not 100%.
Good. Thank you.
Mitch, real quick question. When you sized the pad itself, did you make allowances for the access to the to the mechanical and electrical portions? I know there's certain rules as far as having fallback distances and that type of thing.
Yes, that room to walk around it, yes, sir.
Okay. Is that 480 or is it just 240?
240.
Okay. I think you got to have at least a minimum of like 42 inches, isn't it, from the electrical device to the fallback?
I thought it was 36, but I mean, we can increase it to 42. That's not a problem.
Yeah, we just probably need to have somebody check on that. I know enough about electric just to ask some of those questions to just make sure we do have proper distances.
Okay.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, on the culverts and whatnot. When we put those in the first time, or who put them in, I mean, all this Everglades restoration stuff, I mean, we're okay with that stuff? You know what I mean, as far as the size of the pipes and what's going on there?
I personally don't think so. It probably needs to be re-engineered, but that's why I'm asking. If you want to replace like for like, that's the price, but it probably.
I mean, because they're doing all that work on 41 and everything else, I just don't want something to come out
I would not
bite us.
disagree with
The
that at
state's
all.
looking into that, and they had contacted us before Ian, and David and I were working with them. They were gonna replace all the culverts.
Who's they?
They being the state, because of part of the restoration project.
Right?
But so just before Ian and since Ian, we haven't heard squat from
Have we contacted them?
them. Yeah,
And then they didn't reply?
no replies.
Okay.
Who was the contact at the state, you know?
I have it at my office. I don't have.
Can you send that to?
Yeah, David's got it too. I mean, you're gonna have to work with your engineer to get this done.
Okay.
David, you didn't hear from them, since Ian, have you? I know
No,
they-
we haven't heard anything from them. I know we reached out to them, but nothing's come back. I'll have to revisit that and chase down the contact person there. And I can either get that to Dan or I can try to do some follow-up also on my end.
That's fine. I was just working on some of that, and I would like to know who your contact is at the state.
Yeah, I think at one point we had talked to somebody at the Collier Seminole Park. Is that correct?
Yeah. That was the initial contact, was through the state, but from the park. It was one of the,
Picayune, right?
yeah.
So with that being said, do you want me to go ahead and patch the road up with what I got and move forward on installing the generator? Or do you want me to wait?
You're saying just patch it and not put new culverts?
Which you already approved the patching
Right.
last meeting.
Under the
yes.
FEMA reimbursement grants, we can not have that done and put in the proposed costs, or do we have to have
Well, we've got the proposed cost to them in there now.
it with the culverts? You got that
Yes,
in there?
with the culverts.
With the culverts,
The
okay.
problem, you know what they're gonna approve or not approve by, we have a great, we're 100% on all of our clients in getting FEMA
Well, a
reimbursement.
couple of those culverts were totally washed out. They were pushed right out the side of the road, right at the ones that were from the hurricane.
Yeah.
And the road totally got destroyed from the hurricane, so I don't see the reasons that.
I didn't hear any negative responses with their meeting last Friday.
Okay, so if FEMA doesn't pick those up, that's where we come in with the state, as the state with the restoration project. There'll probably be some money there for culverts.
I would assume so.
I think that's what he's working on.
So then I'll just wait before I do anything to the road then, so.
Just work directly with
Okay.
Dan. Well, you guys, go ahead.
Well, if they put the stone down or whatever, just to get it out there, the stone's still gonna be there.
So
If we have to redo the culverts, they're gonna still dig it up, just move the stuff and you can
the
still.
only one that it really would be a waste is the big one. The big one, it needs a couple loads of stone.
Uh-huh.
And if you replace it, it'll have to be dug up. And then, yes, a lot of that can be salvaged and put right back in. So the rest of the really bad spots are not where culverts are per se.
See, I thought you were talking, originally we were gonna be replacing culverts, but we're not, we're just talking about patching it.
No, I
For now.
think we're talking about replacing.
There's a lot of big ruts and sinkholes. Those I just need to patch up.
It's
So
bad.
especially if I'm gonna take a crane back there and a concrete truck
Yeah.
and equipment.
That's the-
Right.
I mean, there's ruts that deep.
Do you have the gravel?
No, I get that, but it
Right,
sounds
Yeah,
like.
they were
that
scheduled last week.
To come this week.
I can have them start Monday. I mean, the gravel's not, I can have it come whenever you tell me.
Bring it in.
Okay. Then I'll bring it in, I'll patch the stuff that we need to patch so we can continue working and then.
The trouble
we can
with
address the
these
culverts
grant,
later.
the trouble with all these grant funds is you just never know when you're gonna get them.
Sure.
It takes a long time sometimes, and 1 week turns into a month before they get back to you. It's really tough to make this happen on a timely fashion.
Okay.
Have we ever thought about dumping a load of rock on the other end or something in case, there was a time when you couldn't get back there, whether the other one was skid
That's a great
steer
idea.
or
Like
something?
down in the curve,
Yeah,
that's a great idea. Absolutely. Because when the road washes out, we have to fix it.
and it's
So
always-
It's right there.
yeah.
And the
And maybe
biggest
even one on
washout-
each end.
The biggest washout is always at the big culverts. That one we've replaced multiple times the gravel over the years. The first few times I put smaller rock in, I found it washed away really quick. Last time we put bigger stuff in, it's holding up pretty good, but you've been back there, it's still a pretty good thing.
What do you think? Put a load on each end?
Oh, you could.
So after we patch it up, I'll put a load at each end.
Perfect.
Okay.
You're gonna do the turnaround then too on the end. You're gonna get that in.
Yeah, we'll put a little bit of a turnaround so that we can turn around
Perfect.
without getting stuff.
Good.
Okay. Any more questions for me or any questions for me?
Thanks, Mitch.
The plant tours and.
Oh, yes. So, we had talked about doing a plant tour or an open house after the next board meeting in February. We're good to do that if you guys are still on board, if that's okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll set that up. Let's just plan on right after the board meeting.
And we talked about possibly having Lindsay Case here at that same time, in case people had questions about what's going to go on 13, you could answer them at the same
That'd be
time.
great, yeah.
Okay.
You'll reach out to him.
Sure, I will.
You can do your little open house like you used to. with
Yeah,
the-
we'll put the tables up, supply lunch for everybody and walk them around the plant. Answer any questions they may have, explain everything to them.
Perfect.
Okay.
And that, we'll have to probably advertise that. That'll be right in our advertising that goes out.
Sure.
Do we have a date for that plant tour?
Well, he was talking about during the regular meeting.
So usually in the
Right
past,
after.
we've always done it after the board meeting. That way we can just roll right into it.
Sure.
But I'm good to do it any date or time. If there's a date or time that you feel is better.
No, that works great.
February is on the
It
17th.
worked.
Yeah, 17th is what we had kind of planned for it in my office.
Let's work with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Tony, if there's no business discussed, would it
Well, I
be a
guess it's a-
social event?
I guess it's really called an open house. I'd rather call it a plant tour. So it's an open house for the community, and some members of the board might be there.
We'll just
The
police
board
ourselves.
members Not interact or do anything. I think we can couch it that way, have notice that we have this open house and some board members.
Okay, perfect.
We just don't want the deemed a factor.
Well, we're going to advertise for the meeting, so we could put a line in there, right, in the thing that says it all.
We can add that as an additional.
All right, Mitch, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, landscaping maintenance. Did you have a chance to get together with?
I did.
Perfect, let us know.
Yes, Robert and I rode around and looked at all the areas that we're responsible for and talked about those. The area of the 41 Meridian where the small plants been dying, he said that's because they were continually wet. It was the rainy season, so they've been removed and replaced with sod already. And one of the issues that we were going to take care of was the well-filled road that has been bush hogged and cleared out, pushed back. And we're also told him about the palm trees and crepe myrtles that look like they needed trimmed. He's going to get us a price for that. He mentioned that the mulch should be being delivered any day now, so we're waiting on that. Last meeting, there was a utility lid that was loose or missing a Newport Road. That's been taken care of as well.
Perfect. I don't know if this is under landscaping or under roads that Russ has got, but I'm noticing that a lot of our street lights are getting pretty covered up with trees. We just removed the one that was over that pump station that we was discussing, but of course the light still doesn't work, so we got to get LCE to come out and do that. And I think there's several other lights in the community that aren't working, and some of them are full with bugs, but I'm thinking that we need to have somebody come out and trim around those lights.
Okay. I'll look into that.
I have one, please. The pots that are by the hotel where all the weeds are growing in the pots.
Yeah, you brought that up last time. I mentioned that.
I went to look at it.
Huh?
I went to look at it. Whose pots are they? Are they ours?
Yes,
Oh,
they
okay.
are.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we should have,
CID put them
we should
in.
have Robert clean it up.
We put those in just to direct traffic.
Do direct traffic, correct?
I think that there's
Because of the confusion with people going in the hotel, coming out, going this way, they were trying to make a lane to give them some guidance. Because you have people coming in and out in the same space, and
I think the field manager
Yeah, they
had a
need to be
picture of
spruced up.
that, what she's speaking. I mean, it'll take them 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll mention
Yeah.
that as well.
All right.
they're just messy.
We'll take care of it. Thank you.
And I looked at the signs too.
Yeah,
Kind of funky.
They're awful.
They're like all mildewed and green and,
well,
you know.
my question is, somebody just sent me a picture that was on next door of a vehicle that was parked on a lawn with a trailer behind it. And
So it's still Mars North, wasn't it, Dan?
I don't know where it was.
I didn't think so.
I think it was over on the other side.
I didn't think so because the
Because
trees
there
that
was
were
a
in the
circle.
picture,
Yeah.
the trees weren't our trees.
Go ahead, Frank. What are you saying?
The lady that's speaking, I don't know who she is.
Oh, sorry.
Catherine Kellmeyer, oh my God, forgive me, please. Mea culpa.
The pictures look like Sunrise Cave.
Yeah, well, and my question about that was, is there a sign over there? You know what I mean? Is there a sign over there and it's
Where
being,
was it?
I don't know, it just shows a picture on the corner, with a boat in a pickup.
They look like the same buildings that are over there on Sunrise K.
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying.
That's what we thought, that's what I thought, yeah.
Because
I
it
looked
had
at
a
the
curve in
buildings
the
on-
grass, and there's no curve in the grass over at Stella Marsden.
Okay.
So I don't know what the answer is to this.
Yeah,
Yes, we can ticket it, correct, but we're trying to decide
No,
what we want to do on these
Do you want
signs.
to take the signs down, clean them up? I don't know.
All going down Newport Drive
Wait, how
from
many do you need?
Sunrise K all the way down, you have the center divide. I can see up by the hotel. and the marina.
Yeah.
That makes sense, but not in a residential area where people are gonna be going into a street or a driveway. They're useless.
Yeah.
And
Can you
there's
look at that?
landscaping.
That's what
there.
I thought. I thought there was like way too many of them.
Mr. Bugman?
Absolutely. Every end,
You know what
all
she's
the way
talking
down,
about?
every
Yeah.
street,
I've
every
never
drive.
seen
Somebody
some.
get carried away
I'll
on
take
that.
it right up to the little ones. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I haven't seen.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of them.
So, I mean, you only need a couple in the beginning.
Okay, Russ will take a look at that.
Thank you.
You're-
Thank you.
Quickly, your report that's in the handouts today that came from Soto, they used the old board name, but we corrected it with Claire, and the future one should come to you.
Okay. Engineers report? Dave, you still on? Okay. Field
Yeah, I'm still
managers
on.
report? Oh,
Yeah, I'm
do you
still
have
on.
anything to add?
Well, I think what we probably need to do is group up with some of the committee members, kind of talk about some projects that they have on their minds as far as on the roadways and drainage and so forth. And then also same with the utilities a little bit. I do have some lists. We do have the CIP, and there's always those projects that kind of pop up here and there. I know we need to get direction from the board as far as the case drive drainage and how we want to approach that. There's different aspects of that, with the rear yard swales and outfall probably being the most challenging there. Right now, as far as the roadside closed drainage and the open drainage, that's being kind of taken care of by valley gutters and storm drains. The stormwater lakes and outfalls that we do have, again, those are district things that are being taken care of right now. So really the question mark is those rear yard swales and outfalls that we do have, and how the district would like to approach that as far as operation and maintenance.
It needs to be
And then as far as some roadway things we need.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, as far as like roadway projects and so forth, I know later in the agenda, you've got a report on doing some patchwork on a couple of the roadways and so forth. Again, one of the things the CIP did identify was looking at maybe trying to do some drainage and roadway improvements, especially along the Newport area. Union Road is starting to show a lot of surface cracking, alligator cracking, and so forth. The question mark there, of course, is in the near future, potentially we're going to have construction going on and construction traffic going back to parcel 13. So you may not want to jump ahead with that too soon. Only just let that traffic kind of subside a little bit as time goes on, and then go in and do a more major project in the future on Union Road. But again, that's kind of up to the board to decide a little bit. And then, like was mentioned earlier, we'll go ahead and get you a proposal for the permit renewal, and I'll get you some information as far as the contact person on the restoration and culvert sizing and so forth in the on the well field. And really, there are some other loose end projects. I know we talked that Mitch was going to try to get some pricing on painting the piping underneath the US 41 bridge. But if he needs assistance there, we can go ahead and develop a quick little paint spec, plus do some coordination as far as getting some bids on that one, if you desire that to be done.
Okay. Mitch, did you ever get a chance to do that?
He did.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bids came in at 90,
Paints and Coatings was the company,
right?
90?
Otherwise, the bid before that was 150.
and I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Paints and Coatings priced it 90.
Yeah, that 150 that I threw out that at one of the board meetings, and that was just a budget estimate that somebody had. I sent them some pictures, sent them some plans, and they came back with that number. So they never really did any kind of fine tuning of their bids.
Okay.
So,
Wait a minute, 90, those pipes just along the bridge?
they're hanging under the bridge. There's like 3, 4.
That's
There's
90.
3 of them. There's 3.
Well,
There's a fire irrigation line, a potable line, and then also a wastewater line.
They have to go underneath of the barge, so when they clean it, they don't drop the paint into the
Water.
cooler, whatever you want to call it, and
And
whatnot.
it is painted with an epoxy paint.
It'll last how long?
40 years is what they say.
Oh, wow.
And we asked about,
Okay.
cost of replacing, which would be more than double.
Yeah, no, if it lasts 40 years, I didn't know.
Now,
We had a replacement cost, you figured about 180, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that wasn't for all three. That was, I don't think, was it? I can't remember. I have
it's
to
about
look
double.
back. Yeah, it was quite a bit, I remember.
Did anybody test the
Maybe it
paint?
was all three. I don't know.
Did anybody test the paint, see if it had lead? I don't know when the last time it was painted.
Probably.
I think one of them's never been painted, and the other two, I don't know. Nobody tested it, though, that I'm
I
sure.
mean, we should test it, because they may get into that project, find out how it's lead, and now the project cost double.
Okay, I'd like to include that in a grant. We're looking at a community infrastructure grant. Going through the motions right now to get it through.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll see how that turns out. Right now, we're just looking into it, if we qualify, if we don't, that kind of thing. And if it comes to fruition, that grant would cover those pipes.
We'll probably end up using a grant writer,
Mhm.
so.
We're looking at a couple of them, but this was one that some of our neighbors got grants. Everglades City got a couple $1 million. Chuck Klosky got some money. Immokalee got some money. Everyone around us has been picking up grant monies and we haven't. So then I think it's just because we haven't went after it. So hopefully we can come up with some of that grant money and cover some of these projects.
Dave,
Just let me
getting
know what
back,
you need from me, and I'll get it to you.
Dave, getting back to these swales here, and I know I came and met with you in your office. I'm still trying to come up with, I know you gave me something for Sanctuary Point, but I'm trying to figure out if there was a master plan for the entire port so that I could figure out what's going on with the Newport side and whatnot. How that stuff was, if we wanted to put it back to its original condition, I'm trying to figure out, how do I figure out what the original condition was?
Okay. Let me try to give a little history. The Newport Drive area and so forth, the initial drive, Newport Drive and Newport K, that was built without any kind of permits. It was probably predated permitting and so forth at that point. Then as things developed over on that quadrant, the individual developments, the villas, Sunset Villas, and some of the other developments, they actually pulled county permits for their development and stormwater and so forth. So there are some drawings and so forth showing that original construction there. Then when we go over to the eastern side, the southeastern quadrant, there was a master plan developed for that entire area. It was a conceptual plan through the South Florida Water Management District. And then there was a set of construction plans or approvals obtained for the sanctuary area. And that included the single family development, plus that on the far eastern side of the development along the Case Drive area that included the stormwater lakes and the outfalls and so forth. And then as the Celamarza North and South got developed, those were developed underneath separate Cuyahoga County permitting. So those have Cuyahoga County permits and designs and so forth and approvals. And then with Arctic Cove, again, that was another one that received a South Florida permit for its entire construction. So it's covered by that entity. And I believe the operating entity for Arctic Cove is the HOA there.
Would we have those plans on file?
Yeah, we do have those plans, and I'm trying to remember who I had sent those to, but we can gather those up and redistribute those to whoever you wish.
I think I've only seen the Sanctuary Point plans, so maybe you, who's working on that?
Yes. Send them all to me.
Do you want, huh? Would you send them to Lisa Hanson, please? Dave,
I'm sorry, I missed that. I had a phone going off in the background.
could you send those, as much of those plans that you have to Annalise Hansen?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you. She'll be spearheading.
I may have to transmit them by thumb drive because they are kind of large,
Yeah, that's.
but I'll get
fine.
those to her.
Whatever you need to do.
I'd rather have them electronically.
Okay.
Is that what we're leaning towards, going back to the original, right?
Not necessarily. Why would
Well,
we do that? I mean,
My,
everything's changed.
well, the last meeting that we had when the county was here, what we were gonna do is try to get together with them, have them come out and go around and say, yeah, this is the letter of the law, what will you accept? You know, how, work together with them to make sure that what we do is good enough.
Okay.
But like I said, if we don't have any permit on how Newport was even originally done, that almost sounds to me like we're gonna be starting over from scratch then there. Would you think, Dave?
Well, in Newport, we do have some old drawings that do show the roadway alignment, I believe, and it shows maybe some of the outfalls. But it pretty much it exists the way one would expect for the drainage back then.
So redoing that, I mean, would we have to go through permitting again then?
No, I think it would be purely maintenance. Along Newport, we would probably want to regrade those swales down to where the existing culvert grades are. And just restore swales for the most part. I think most of the structures in that area are in good shape. Most of them, I believe, are concrete. Some of the driveway culverts are probably a little undersized and could be increased in size as needed.
I think the culverts under the driveway, they're not moving that much water. I would hope that we wouldn't have to change those culverts.
Right. And it could be a maintenance item as those culverts need to be replaced by the homeowners, that they upgrade to to more or less the county standard of 15-inch. I think we've got some 12-inch culverts out there right now.
There's most of those over there are 12-inch. That's why I would hate to hesitate to make those people replace those, because if they're working, and I gotta believe they are, there's no sense going into that whole can of worms.
We're getting too
Yeah.
detailed here.
Huh?
We're getting too detailed.
Okay, sorry. What else? Anything else for
That's
Dave?
all I've got on my end.
We have a water tank that we got to talk about. That's got to be engineered and permitted.
Correct. And that's another thing that's on my list also. And what I suggested to the chair was perhaps trying to get together with Annalise and yourself, Dan, and kind of go through some of these lists and kind of fine tune, get you some proposals on what you want us to actually do.
Yeah, we can only do one board member.
At a time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I would meet individually with them.
Okay.
On all this engineering stuff, I want to narrow the scope. I want to take care of one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, the water tank, Mitch, the water tank, how long is that good for? I mean,
Well, I think the water tank that's there will be fine for a year. The concern is the canal across the way, the pump station over there, but it is
Right.
working right now.
okay, well, I just needed to.
The reason we moved the water tank up, I don't know if you were here for that, we talked about that, but the canal system, the pump system that takes care of our irrigation and fire supply.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
disastrous, right?
yeah, no, I know we talked about that before.
Okay, yeah, so in order to, if we move on the tank, we can get by with that system long enough to get a new tank up. And then it takes care of some of the expenses on repairing the existing tank, and get the roof on the one we have now.
I don't think so. I mean, again, that's probably an engineering question, but if it becomes a irrigation tank, right now you currently have 2 irrigation tanks. One is with a roof and one is without.
Right. So if we can save some money on the repairs of the tank and then not have to put quite a bit of money into that canal system, we'd be foolish not to build that new tank now and take advantage of not having to do that.
Sorry, what are you suggesting?
If we move forward with a new tank.
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
So
Well,
we kind of did it.
I'm all for that, but I just mean, it just, from what he's talking about, he's all over the map as far as what the engineer's looking at. And,
But also, building the new tank isn't the only answer to that pump station. Building the new tank, then I'm sure he will have to probably add another pump over there at the plant for the irrigation, because we currently have 2 pumps over there and 3 over there that give you irrigation and fire supply. So my guess is it won't be just a tank. There will be some piping and pump work and stuff that'll have to go over there as well. And again, that's all engineering. David will have to.
Okay,
Right,
Yeah.
so we'll work on
Dale,
that.
So
I'll
we're-
work with
Put
Dave
this
and we'll
together
work on
and
that.
bring it to the next board meeting.
right, but we're gonna
We'll get that together.
we'll get a price, right?
Right.
What it's gonna
Right.
cost here,
Of course.
not just.
No,
Right.
no, heck no.
That's what we're
We
working
don't do anything without getting a price.
on. Okay,
So-
we'll take care of that.
So
I'll be
next
talking with
agenda
you.
should have 2 proposals for engineering for the services that you suggested to Dave. One being the water tank. I'm not sure what the other one was.
Yeah,
Well, we-
I'm not
we
either,
won't-
that's why.
Yeah, we won't really know until we look at all this.
Right.
So
I think,
we'll get some proposals for not to exceed.
yeah, what we'll do is we'll pull together a proposal for the permit renewal and then the water tank itself, and then whatever comes of the meetings with the individual board members.
Okay,
So there's 2 things.
right, well, I get that, I get that, all right, but I wanna get to the point where are we getting one proposal? Okay, because I don't want him charging us for writing up a proposal.
Who's
Okay.
he? Me, Dave?
Dave, yeah, it's Home Montez.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I looked at the last invoices and important takeaways from each invoice, okay? One was planned for our meeting, all right, you're charging for that. Then another one's review, and then research existing, then review, discuss possible reliability improvements, discuss water quality issues, review, obtain pricing for painting. Okay, I have issues with this.
Mhm.
Okay, so, I mean, I want estimates when he's gonna do something, right? I don't wanna just he's gonna give us a price on, how do I phrase it? I don't just wanna get billed while he's doing these things unless it's included in the price, you know what I mean? It's all part of the thing. So are we staying with this or do we go with an outside source? I mean, he's got a lot of stuff to do. And he's familiar with it, so.
You don't really have a choice, I don't believe. You've got to go through a competitive review of qualifications to bring in another engineer.
What we
Okay, Frank.
discussed previously at previous board meetings was that we would work underneath the work authorization process. Right
Right.
now, we've got 2 work authorizations in process. One is for just normal monthly type services, such as attending the meetings and, doing quick little things like gathering up those maps that we're going to be gathering up for Annalise. So those are the type of little things that fall underneath that. And then we've got one opened up for the review of the parcel 13, the utility relocation plans. So as we go through these things, as we prepare a proposal and you approve it for the water tank, then we'll have another work authorization for that. And then similar for the other little projects that come up.
Okay, I think what Russ is saying, we don't want any surprises.
Well, I just don't want to get billed for something twice,
Right. Okay.
right? I mean, if I was doing another outside agency or something, they'd give me a proposal and that would be the proposal and I'd be paying for that. Or maybe, I don't know what
The
even our
review-
county engineers can do, you know,
the
what I mean, as
review
far as
would
their
all
water
be-
system.
The review would all be part of the thing, part of the proposal, all the review and all the.
Right, well, it'd have to be if we want,
Right.
I mean,
I think
The agenda and that material is part of his general services
Okay.
proposal.
Frank, come back. Let's let Frank in here. He's,
Frankly, Page Drive. 3 meetings ago, the board voted to put out a request for proposals or qualifications from engineering firms that were to be presented at the next meeting. I think it was 3 meetings ago.
Mhm.
And again, in fairness to this fine company, they've had the contract uncompeted for 15, 20, 25 years. I would imagine it would be very difficult for someone else to out-propose them, given their institutional knowledge. But today I heard, I think, I lost count at 9, but it may be as many as 11 different topics come up. And I heard your engineering company saying, well, get you some numbers, I'll get you a proposal, I'll consult with so-and-so. But, so we got 8, 9, 10, 11 things going on, the RFQ. I'm just wanted to mention that I think that RFQ is a good idea, and I wanted to commend it. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you, Frank. Did you give us that?
Yes. That was in your last meeting packet, not the special one, the
Okay.
December one. There were sample qualification proposals, and you were supposed to go through them, mark them up, tell us, what it is you're looking for in an engineer.
You didn't see them?
No.
Okay. Just one. Let's just deal with this right now. Do we want to send out RFQs? What do we want to do? Do we want to keep going down this road? Do we want to take change now? What do we want to do?
Well, like I said, the whole community already pays for engineering. I don't understand why we can't get the county involved with some of these projects. I mean, I brought that up 6 months ago and everybody, tore me a new one. So,
I think we should do both. I think we should have the county help us on some things and Juan Montez handle the things the county can't.
okay, so does that mean we don't retain an engineer when we go out for an engineer every time? You know what I mean? We go for engineering guidance or, I mean, there's so much going on. And he, Juan Montez knows what's what, but
You have any
these things I
suggestions?
feel like I'm getting milked, so.
I 100% agree with you on that.
So
Well, I think just there needs to be much better communication between Juan Montez and us. So that we know exactly what we're doing and what we're getting, and in fairness to everyone. Yeah, we need to know what's going on.
Well, I guess an easy one to start with would be the water tank. If you start with that as a bid, it would have to include the permitting, the bid on the tank, the specs on the tank, and then everything through fruition, right?
Right.
If there's construction management that goes with that or whatever, that should all be in the bid to take that tank from right now through
the
the
end.
permitting process right to the end to where the tank is standing there with water in it for us. And that should be the bid for the engineering on that tank.
Tony?
For when an entity, a governmental entity solicits competitively engineering services, it's not a bid. A bid is a specific thing for contractors.
Okay.
And the statute, to make sure we differentiate, and there's a process in Florida, the Competitive Consultants Negotiation Act, it's called. And for certain professionals, surveyors, mappers, professional engineers, architecture, landscape architecture, when a project meets a certain dollar threshold, then the entity has to go out to competitive solicitation. And the cost and fees associated with that for that firm are part of the initial round. You rank them based upon qualifications, and then you negotiate with the top ranked firm. And I was going to ask the question of David, what would he anticipate the construction cost of the new tank? Just a ballpark, not holding you to it.
You still there, Dave?
I'd have to check some numbers and so forth. We did get some numbers from a vendor, so I'd have to go back and check. It included just the tank itself and some repairs to the existing tank. But again, there is some piping that needs to be done. I need to do some checking to see what our pumping capacity is currently at the plant, and whether we do, as Mitch mentioned, whether we do need to add another set of pumps there or not.
Is it, I guess.
But we're going to be talking $500,000 to at least $750,000, correct? Somewhere in there?
If we're
I think so. I think it's going to be less than $1 million probably.
The key is.
Yeah, where's that
450,
threshold?
490, 500, because it's 325 in the statute, it's 325, but then it increases based upon an engineering index for construction. So it's around high 400s now.
I'm saying we're going to need to.
Then you would need to, solicit proposals from engineering firms or utilize Juan Montez. Now, when you're talking a planning or studying activity of a certain lower number, you can do that without going to the CCNA. But that's
So for the tank, more than likely, we need to send that out for bids.
No,
No?
you would either utilize your existing district engineer
Yeah,
or request proposals from engineering firms for that service.
okay.
And again, under the CCNA, which is the proposal process, you do not, it's qualification-based process. You ask them for qualifications, that's the first round. Then you rank them. Assuming you get 4, you rank them.
Okay.
You negotiate with the top ranked firm on the fee. If they're not successful, you go number 2. If not successful, you go number 3.
Okay.
That's how you do that.
But you're talking about engineers, I think you were talking about the actual tank construction. That does have to be bid, it exceeds the threshold.
Well, I thought maybe it was all in one, the engineering and the tank, and, you know, the
Well,
entire
you can do it
project.
Design build.
It's a design build, but again, you need to go through a competitive solicitation process for design build. I mean, so
Which is a good idea anyway, right?
Yeah,
sometimes it's less expensive, sometimes it's not.
Okay.
I'm all for that, I'm all for
Right.
that. Okay, if that's the way we're going, I'm all for that. But then all these other peripheral things that he's talking about, getting you the flash drive, getting stuff like that, we're not gonna be able to do that. We're not gonna be able to affect the drainage this year on these different roads. I mean, we can clean them out and whatever, you know what I mean? But as far as bringing surveyors in and stuff like that, we're not gonna have the money for that, based on what I'm hearing this thing's gonna cost. That's what's scaring me, that we're, you know what I mean?
I know
We're getting out
We need to
there.
look at all the projects and prioritize them and then work from there.
I know this is Annalise's deal, but, you know, I've spent quite a bit of time out there, especially in Sanctuary Point. Really, the places that are getting overflowed and having blowouts are not because of the drainage per se, they're more that the riprap isn't adequately at the same height the whole way. So wherever's the low spot blows out. So if we could determine what that height is supposed to be, starting at the west end, going all the way to the east end, give that to the homeowners and saying, this is where we have to start. First of all, we have to get your riprap and your seawall up to that height. That's going to eliminate a lot of the problems, because I mean, there's docks and whatnot that are lower than the riprap, and it's undercutting them and the whole works. But that's the whole main reason why we're getting that problem, is that it isn't that per se the swales are too full or not working, which that's all part of it, but it still starts out at the height of the riprap.
So who's gonna shoot it?
Well, it's up to us. We have to decide.
And then the other side, we just clean them out, make sure they're up. We're gonna need the elevations. I know, all right, I know we're getting in the weeds here again, but
The issue with,
I'm just worried about money at the end of the year.
Of course.
I think the issue with the stormwater management, right, that we've been talking about forever, and the boards before us have talked about it for many years, it's been kicked down the road, is that there isn't just a simple solution to say, we're gonna make this rule, and that's gonna fix it. Some of the easements are on the property, some are off, some houses have been built into the easement, it's over the years, there's a lot of different things that came into play. And to fix that, we just gotta start with it
Just
one
start
at a time.
someplace.
It's gonna be a one at a time for each house.
There can't be a one size fits all.
There isn't.
No.
You just can't say this rule.
Building codes change, elevations change. It's so many things that have changed. We're gonna have to start small and keep on.
But you're right, the riprap wall itself has not changed.
Right.
That's gonna be the same.
That's the same.
So.
That's a constant.
So if we did that and we cleaned out the stuff on Newport so that it was draining properly.
It's a start.
And I'm hoping the stuff
But
on
that's it, you know, I mean, that's it, just go there.
And I'm hoping the stuff on Newport, that we could use an excavator and stay on the blacktop and pull out what we need to do less damage into that, not have to get into there. And maybe, we could start with that just to get it started, get it cleaned out.
All right, moving on.
Okay, all right.
She's got a doctor's appointment.
Oh, okay.
Besides, I don't want to be in a 5-hour
Just
meeting.
We're not gonna have a 5-hour meeting.
reminder, he's working under a $1,500, I believe it's $1,500 not to exceed general services contract, and those things you mentioned will fall under that. But eventually, he's gonna run out of that, and he's gonna say he needs a renewal.
And then we need notification.
But
When
yeah,
he runs out.
you'll have to approve another one. He's only
Yeah.
authorized to $1,500.
If, I'm gonna work with,
That 15, actually, I think it's $2,200 per month.
Okay.
right?
Right.
I'll be
So
the sheriff.
I've got to head off, but I'll be in touch with Steve and the other board members to set up times, hopefully next week, that we can gather.
Okay.
Sure.
One-on-one.
Start with Annalise.
Okay, good deal. Well, thanks, and I'll catch up with Annalise next week.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right.
So we'll get you a bag.
And we're still getting RFQs, right? Or whatever the heck they are, RQFs or whatever the heck. Those are in that packet?
Yes, but we have
Yeah,
designated
those aren't
some.
specific. Those are samples that need to be marked up.
Oh,
And then, that probably should be sent out by your new management firm. I mean, we can send them out too, but
all right, we'll wait.
they have to be advertised and then respond. But you
Okay.
need to come up with the qualifications that's being requested.
Okay.
And what was in your packet at I think it was the December meeting, was several samples that we've used in the past.
I think that's a good idea that we put this on hold until we get the next group in.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
And I just wanted him paying attention, so for now.
We are too.
Yeah, well.
Um,
We'll have back.
Field managers report? You got any-
You've got a copy of it. If I can't answer, I'll take it back to Chris and send you out an email.
Okay.
Russ, did you get a chance to look at the field report? They have the roads patched. We have.
I didn't even know I had the roads till, I read the last one. I mean, I saw patching over here. Who
That's
did the
what
patch?
happens when you miss a meeting.
I guess. So,
We volunteer.
I'll have to go back and look at the square footage, but on the west side up in Newport, they did one strip across by the real estate office there. And then there's two little squares that are maybe 3 by 4 on Newport Drive that they put a little patch in.
Yeah.
And that's it.
What about this over here in Union?
This one over here, I don't see where it's any better now than it was before they patched it. That's a very rough patch. It's all bumpy.
Now it's about a $3,000 job, right?
I don't know, but if that's the way they patch roads, maybe we should be looking for somebody else.
Okay.
Well, that happened in the back on Union Road too, when they
It's
patched.
just a quality, it's just a quality of work thing we gotta look at. And I don't know, to me, that was not quality work.
Catherine Kellmeyer, Newport side. Who did the work with the patching?
D&G.
D&G? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And they're not they wouldn't go out and asphalt the road. They do patching. They're more so
Maintenance.
they're more so in maintenance.
Well, we don't have anything pressing right now that we've got to correct, right? So we shouldn't have to worry about this again for a little bit?
No, we have to look at what we're paying them for what they did. But that was in our last book, a couple of meetings ago. We had
But we authorized it, right?
we
Yeah,
did.
it was authorized
It was-
and Chris signed off on it.
We authorized it, so there's really, we have to
Yeah,
pay.
well, yes and no. I mean, there's a quality of work you expect when you pay someone to do something. So, I don't know.
Well, what do you want? What do you think? Let's just lay it out.
Well, I don't know. The engineer looks at stuff all the time. David does. But I think at some point you have to say, really?
Do you want to meet with them?
We could have him out here and just walk through it with him and see what he says. I'll do that.
Okay. I have no problem with that.
I gotta go look at, I haven't been over on the other side.
Now, David wasn't involved in that project. It was just a maintenance
Yes.
where Chris went out and got
Yeah,
a contractor to do the work, and contractors are hard to find right now.
I know they are, and that is an issue, especially out here. It seems like everybody thinks that 10 miles further they got to drive to come out here is crazy, right?
Yeah.
It makes it hard to get people.
Well, and verify the issue also. So between the two of them, it's,
Now, as far as the field manager, do we have a separate contract with him?
No.
Is that under your contract?
yes.
It's billed with Cal's.
Okay. So we have him for one more month.
Okay. All right, that's all I had on the
Thank you.
field manager's report was the blacktop repairs.
We had a couple follow-up items. I can go through those.
Yeah.
The aerator installation, and there's three, each of the three ponds going down Case Drive will have aerators put in them to put dissolved oxygen into them and to improve the water quality. That was a project that was previously approved. Have had problems.
Have they put in the conduit or anything yet on that?
They're still trying to get the electricity to it and put them in.
That's been going on for a long time.
Yes, well, on yesterday, they got pond one done. So, and they're still waiting for LECE.
Which is pond one? Is that by?
That's the first one that's near your property.
Oh, okay.
There's three ponds, 1, 2, 3 going down
All right.
from Tamiami.
I missed that. I didn't see him out there, but.
Yeah. All you wouldn't see the aerators going yet.
No, I meant the power people, because I know they marked it a month and a half ago, and I put flags out because I knew the paint would leave. Go ahead.
Okay, then the asphalt repairs were completed on January 13th, and it sounds like there's dissatisfaction in the quality of work. And I'll pass that on to Chris. And I think those are the main two things.
So these aerators, we have no idea when this is gonna happen?
Well, Solitude will come out and put them in as soon as they get, but you can't put them in until you get electric.
Okay,
And so we're waiting for power to be established
Okay.
where they just plug in and the compressor.
Oh, is that right?
And then you have a weighted hose that will go out to a diffuser and it's the same technology that Mitch uses for his wastewater plants.
so in other words, if they got one done now, it probably shouldn't be that much longer.
Well, they're not gonna wanna come out every time one's done.
No, I'm talking about the power, regular power.
It shouldn't be that.
Yeah, okay, good.
The bill hasn't changed on that, but even though it's taken a lot longer, it's still at the
No,
same
it's still the same price.
price.
Anything else on that? Field manager's report?
If anyone has anything, send me an email and I'll get a response to you.
So then we're on to the district manager?
Okay, first thing is a financial report. Your assessments are starting to finally come in late because of Ian. You're 71% collected now. You've got essentially 4.5, almost $4.6 million in your cash. There's still some outstanding assessments to be collected, but you know, they'll come in, you'll get them. Other than that, I can answer questions or get with Jennifer and she'll respond.
The only thing I had on financing was the CIP, or not CIP, the map thing.
GIS.
GIS.
Come with a book on that.
And I was looking and, yeah, we got, I noticed that this was a 3 or 4 year process. And the first year was $8,500 and then $8,500 and then $5,500 after that. And I noticed in his last billing, there was a lot of $100 per hour billing. And is that in the $8,500?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The issue I'm having is I've been looking at this GIS report, and basically what I'm finding is that I've seen everything that he's put on there through the county or even our own records here, and they're inaccurate, which I'm looking at, you know, like the county on their GIS, we're using the exact same thing, which is old aerial photographs before a lot of these houses were built. The the actual streets and stuff are offset on the aerial photographs so that it's inaccurate. And then if you pull up the name of the property owners and whatnot, they're inaccurate. So if we can't access this thing and actually get accurate data off of it, I don't see what advantage of it is to us to have.
The data they have, they're not going to update every home sale as it comes in. That's maintained by the county. But the GIS information is all coming from the engineer, from his records, from county records. So
It's
I don't.
it's all old though.
It's the most recent that is available. But you're not being charged enough to do a flight, a GIS flight. That's done through the county, and that information is put into your report. The rest of it is information either it is all transferred from David to Felipe through a CAD system, and he's incorporated that. If you want to flag specific data, I'll talk to them and find out how we can get that more up to date. But the ownership records, they're updated annually, either through the clerk's office or the property appraiser's office.
I understand that, but land that has been sold in here, even the properties that I've bought are still shown as somebody else announced 2 years ago. Well, I don't understand why the correct stuff isn't put in.
Well, he's not going to have access to that. All of that's done through the county. And if it's not accurate at the county level, then we can get with the county and make sure that it's updated.
What I would like to do right now, we are working with some of the people in the county to see if there's ways they can come into our community and work with us on this. And I made contact with them 2 days ago, and I'll be back, and I want to bring up the GIS mapping, because if we're going to the county, we're getting data off the county, why don't we just do the county?
Well, you're just going to have to go through 5 or 6 different websites, searches. This is all in one place.
What's that chirping from?
This thing right here. That's the speaker.
Interference and something.
After he's gone, she.
I don't see anyone that causing that, so.
Okay. For me personally, from what I've seen of this, I don't think it's worth the money we're spending.
Well, you've already approved it and the project's completed.
The 1 year is.
That's the last, no, the previous board authorized to move forward with it and do all of it at one time. So that bill that you questioned was the final bill to complete, to pay for all of his work.
It's what we've got is what we're getting?
Yeah.
Why did it say on your year 2022, 2023, 2024?
That was the original proposal, and the previous board said to do it all. Now, they didn't want to stretch it out, and they wanted to get it all done.
So we've already, if we paid the remaining balance, they would have 2250 out of us?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I read this and that's why I was confused then again. Okay.
Maybe we could have him come in and explain.
Yeah, I don't want to pay those bills until something changes, because this is.
He said they're paid.
Huh?
He said they're paid.
No, they're not. We held the
Well,
last
except
one.
for that last one.
I didn't pay I had them hold the last invoices.
Public have access to
Eventually, yes. Yes. In fact, if you might be able to get onto it's on the website now, is it not?
No.
Okay.
Now, two questions. One is, to the extent there are any utility facilities, I would suggest the public not have access.
Yeah, we'll deal with that before we put it live out there for the public.
Yeah, the question is, the board is going to dispute the invoice, we need to notify what the vendor, the student say it's not a proper invoice and articulate why. It's under the Florida Pop Limit Act, we need to do that.
Okay.
Because if it's not paid within a certain period of time, the vendor can request interest on top of the invoice amount.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, the board needs to articulate comply with the.
22,000.
Well, that was the total. There's been at least 2 payments made on it now.
What's the payment amount?
I don't have the set to. It was,
5,500?
there's an invoice that was sent that Mr. McNamee paid.
Yeah, I don't recall off the top of my head how much that was, but it certainly wasn't anywhere close to this.
There's a timing issue again with regards to, when was the date of the business? When was it received by you?
Well,
know the exact date.
Well,
Okay, I found the mic that
Okay.
was causing that.
Thank
I
you.
muted him.
so I'm curious then, this looks as though this was a proposal that we were given and that we signed off on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that proposal, it's just when it says 22, 23, and 24 payments.
The board, in the minutes, you'll see the board approved doing it all now and not to stretch it out over 3 years.
But shouldn't that be reflected in the agreement that we signed?
It's in the minutes.
Yeah, the citizen change order to the, or amendment to the.
That's what I'm getting at. Whenever there's a dispute, you go back to the written agreement that you signed with one another, correct?
Yeah, a change order wasn't felt to be needed, but, the board wanted to get it going quickly, and we did. They wanted it all completed.
Have you been on there for your stormwater management?
No.
You didn't vote for it, no.
All right.
Do you have the login site, Ms. Hanson?
I don't.
Okay, I can send it to you.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, me too. Send it to all of us.
So can we, to satisfy what Tony is saying, can you send them a notice telling them that we need to have to speak with them so that we can figure this out?
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess what we need to do though is, first of all, it's important to note the date that the invoice was received.
Okay.
Again, there's triggers and there's timeframes in the Local Government Prompt Payment Act that come into play. And then the board, so the determination made, I guess the concern is the chair believes that it's not the proper invoice, which means that it was not in conformance with all statutory requirements or all requirements specified by the local government to which the invoice is submitted. So the question becomes whether or not the deliverables as provided for in the contract were delivered, as required. So it's important, again, to get that date because the board needs to make payment within 45 days of the
Invoice.
submittal of a proper invoice. So if we're saying it's not a proper invoice or if we're disputing if the services were provided, that needs to occur as soon as possible. Also, to the extent that there was a change to the contract, from the standpoint of minutes, it's important to know whether or not there was any change order. Sounds like a change order was not processed.
Yeah. When it was accepted, on, in the minutes are in your packet, on June 1st, maybe that's in the print, but when the minutes were accepted, it was moved and supported to approve the development of all 3 phases of a GIS mapping program during fiscal year 2022.
Talk to them.
But you don't remember what the invoice, so you said it wasn't this, I mean,
I have no, I don't remember what the date was.
okay.
Talk to them, maybe.
I can look it up. I'll look at the email when we send it to you.
Maybe they'll be willing to work on it and fix it up.
Well,
Maybe not.
what it is right now is worthless as far as I'm concerned.
GS mapping, even at the county level, GS mapping is a money pit. Because your data gets old, and when it's old, it's not useful. Because if you're gonna try to determine a stormwater management grass swale off the GIS data and it's not accurate, it's useless.
Well, we have none of that even on there.
You need measurements. If you're gonna know where your road right of way is, or elevations, or whatever we're putting on there, if they're not accurate, it's useless.
And it's outdated before we even get going.
It did, and I can, up north, we had GIS data we were putting in for the city, and crews were running over trying to get current updates on roads and hydrants and everything you use in the city to make the layers, and it costs you money every year to try to keep up with that data. It's a very expensive proposition over time to have GIS mapping. And my first question with the gentleman at the county I'll be speaking to probably this afternoon or tomorrow or Monday will be, can your data with the county, can we work with your GIS mapping? We pay county taxes. Let's see if we can work with that GIS mapping from the county, and then we don't have to keep it up. It'll be part of the county. But to go on our own with GIS mapping, that's a continued cost. There's always something that you're adding or fixing or updating, and it's always a cost every year to have GIS mapping.
It looks to me like this could be a write-off.
Well, let's see what the county says.
Well, and I guess the couple of issues. One is if the board's disputing the payment needs to go out right away. Second of all, under the compensation, it says the district will pay $8,500 for phase 1 in the year 2022, but then it says any additional requests beyond phase 1.0 for year 2022 could be billed at a rate of $100 per hour. So I don't know if he's going to argue that the board authorized additional services beyond phase 1 in year 2022 and therefore bill at $100 per hour. So I mean, that's.
None of that was actually addressed, I don't believe.
I'm not sure what I mean by addressed. The argument might be made by GIS Solutions that they could bill $100 per hour for all the work performed in 2022 beyond phase 1. That's how arguably. But the fact that it has the different years in there, I guess it's questionable whether or not you can say if it was performed in 2022, it was just accelerating the work that would have been done in 2023 or 2024. Does that mean it's contrary to the terms of the agreement? Arguably not necessarily. But if the board's going to dispute it, then we need to send out a notice saying we dispute that it's a proper invoice. And it had to be 45 days from the date that Cal received the invoice.
Well, then we should first of all decide if we're going to spend additional money on trying to fix this, or if we just move on to working with the county and call this a write-off, basically.
But I guess the question is, from the standpoint of the deliverables to date, GIS Solution indicates it completed the work in total. Pardon?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So the question is, were all the deliverables outlined in here provided?
Yes.
You're saying yes, Mr. McNamee is saying no.
He's saying the information's wrong.
I'm saying, yeah, it's old.
So with Collier County, they don't update but every 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Costs a lot of money to update.
That's right.
And
That's
so I
why
guess-
Collier County doesn't update.
So what I'm getting at is why did we pay for something that we knew then in advance wasn't going to be accurate? What good is it to us?
The fact that it was approved by the board, the prior board, should answer your question.
Why they did it, I don't know.
You
but
don't
the
know,
point
but they
is, we're
approved
stuck
it,
with
so
it
you
now.
have to live with it is.
Why
But
don't,
it is a good tool.
Well, yeah, it
I
is.
mean, it's used all over Florida. A lot of people have GIS and, you know, you can use it for when you've got an issue on a easement. You can pull it up, you can look at it, you can see where that easement is or isn't. I mean, we use it all the time, and with the other communities we have it at, they love it.
Are those easements on there?
Yeah,
All of them?
yeah.
Dan,
Every
what-
easement that's platted is on that GIS. You've got to hit the right layer. There's various different layers, and you just click what you want to observe and use.
Well, you're sending it to us. We'll look at that. And
Yep, we'll look at it.
take, yeah,
In
we'll
your
look at it.
questions, Dan, I would ask them, are they using drones to update these GISs? Maybe that may be the benefit to having them versus just Collier County. Because if they send their drones out on a certain amount, you know,
right.
more than Collier County. I mean, I don't know the specifics of it. I just know when my husband was in construction, it's like Collier County every 2 or 3 years, because it's expensive.
Well, I would just have expected that when they're just working for Port of the Island, they could at least get our addresses correct. You know, the ownership of the properties. You know, why do we have to go to the county for that when we have those records ourselves that we could have provided to them?
To
The people doing the GIS.
Yeah, they have the most current records. If some of them are off, then get that information to me. I'll pass it on to him and he'll correct it.
And ask them why the information wasn't correct and why you had to give it to them.
Yeah.
I mean.
So I should go through and find out all the mistakes and then give it to them?
As far as we're concerned, it's completed.
Who's we?
We being me.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look at it.
Okay.
We'll look at it.
Move on.
Let's move on.
We gotta look at it. Yeah.
I guess what's important though.
What's
is
the
that-
date?
Get back to
What date do we have, Tony?
Well, the question is, when was the invoice, the last invoice?
I can't find it. I'd have to,
Send a letter off. Send whatever letter he's talking about that if you're gonna at least withhold that payment, send them and let them that there's, seems to be a discrepancy in, some of the work received. Maybe he can give us a tutorial or something, you know what I mean?
he'll come here and he either do it online or whatever.
I think
or
that'd be-
put it up and he'll
I think
give
that would
you
be good.
a tutorial.
I think that'd be a good idea for the next meeting.
He's a good contractor. He's a very nice guy. He
Okay, well-
works with Gateway where
Maybe
Tony works.
it's just a
and-
learning curve. We're not up with it, so let's have him come in. If it's done, he can show it to us. He can show the community.
Yeah, it's done and,
Okay.
okay.
But I think what's important is to send a dispute letter out saying, hey, we
Yes.
received this invoice. The board has directed that we dispute the payment for the following, for a number of reasons, including but not limited to. At least we need to articulate what those reasons are today, so Cal can put it in the letter to send out. And it
That
still
would
may
be
not,
nice.
it still may not meet any timeline, it still may not be sufficient to provide the opportunity to not pay it, but at least you get something out there to the vendor.
Okay.
How much is it, 8,500 you said?
I'm not sure. I thought it was about 6,000, but
So out of the 22,500, we've paid all but 6,000 of it? Oh, okay.
whatever that invoice is,
I didn't realize that it was the end invoice.
yes.
Okay. We have to look into it. We can't make a decision
Right.
right now.
So, but we gotta answer him.
Yeah, we gotta send the letter.
You'll have
And
to,
that
just to
invoice.
cover yourself in case you do want to do something about it, you have to send a letter.
And it may not be sufficient. You know, we may run out of
Okay,
time,
well,
we may not have enough-
the worst scenario is we'd end up paying some interest, right? On the money that we haven't paid them?
But I think it's worthwhile to at least tell them that you have a dispute that the services are not provided.
I agree.
And yet, and the interest is 1% per month and unpaid balance.
There's nothing else that'll get us together to work it out.
12%
You'll be willing to.
Who do you want to do the letter? Calvin?
Pardon me?
Okay.
The inaccuracy, just say it doesn't seem to be accurate or up to date. How's that?
I know he will correct any
Right.
mistakes that are in there. It's,
And have them come out and give us
Sure,
a tutorial
next meeting.
next meeting.
Okay, so then we've got Hurricane Irma.
FEMA, Cal, you want to give everybody a little update on, or, yeah.
Ian?
Ian, what did I say?
Yes, let's see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you want to get.
This is just kind of a summary of the where we're at and what will be passed on to your whoever you identify as doing this. But all deadlines have been met, nothing there. What we've done is a summary of what you have at first. All the deadlines, the 4 deadlines for both category A, B, some are 100%, some are 75%. Even the ones 75% are 100% because the state picks up the 25%. But they've all been submitted, and the deadline for completing all the other permanent repairs, that would be category C through G, that's March 29th.
Okay, so we met the December 7th one for 100%?
Yes. Yes.
She's got to go.
I know.
Okay, we've submitted all the initial damage reports that we've received, and they were, Chris did an inspection of everything on October 6th. And then we began receiving and processing all the hurricane cleanup. The grants portal, which is what you have to be able to start entering the data, that was opened on October 13th. And the previous board had approved that if we need some professional consulting, and we've used them very little, but Berquist Consulting is a firm that we're using, and you got charged a little bit of their time, maybe $100, and to assist in the FEMA, but they were contracted on November 9th. We had an initial call with FEMA on November 18th, and then we have the sub-award agreement that's been signed and returned to the Florida Public Assistance, who is on behalf of the state is working with FEMA. And then on 11/21, we have filled out the Recovery Bureau Risk Assessment Questionnaire. We met with FEMA on the 13th. 6 or 7 of their employees came in and met in our offices. And we're meeting with FEMA now. They've requested a weekly meeting, and so that's what we're doing. The minimum threshold is $3,500 for any single request. We're looking at how we can combine those into a larger category where they'd be eligible for refunding. Like I said, March 29th is the deadline for category C through G. Right now, we've processed everything. There's an email from a contact, Dan, which is Zach Bell. And then you go to the 3rd page, and we keep a running tally that we enter into the portal, but you've paid right now roughly just under $27,000, $26,758. That was made to SignTac, and we'll have to combine that with something. Soto had some cleanup disposal, Florida Utility Solutions for the road, and then some signage. And then what we've done, looking at all the various different projects I've heard at this meeting or for the last while, we inflated those, all the numbers on these projects, and that's the category below. We've inflated them so that, we have some room, if you have other projects to put in there. We've got a debris cleanup, and those two are both, complete. We put the Wellfield Road repair, additional culverts and road improvements. That's a category C, and it does meet the threshold, and that's $250,000 is what I estimated. I might be low. Then the well-filled generator replacement, we've got 70,000 in there. Road signage, 2,000. Then if there's any stormwater inspection, scoping, we got 10,000 for that, and any cleaning. Now these are closed systems that should be cleaning, and we got 20,000 there. You go to the next page, and we've got the elevating the water main, raising the wellheads and the generators. We got $1.5 million in there.
Now, the generators, is that in addition to the one that you put on the page before?
Yes.
For the sewer places?
Right.
Perfect, okay.
And then permanent generators or engine-driven pump units, we got 250,000 there. And then for the bridges, the hanging water lines to replace them or to paint them, we got 150,000 there.
Okay.
Total is 2.2 million, and so that's our best estimate.
But this is a long ways down the road, right?
It'll probably take 2 years.
2 years.
Irma was a little more difficult, and that before we saw a final payment is probably 3 years.
Okay.
And then just so that you're aware, total transparency, we've got what we've billed you so far for FEMA, and it's, since the first cost incurred was October 11th, we got about $500 into it.
Okay.
Okay, that is, and Dan, you've got everything we've got. If you want to come into the office, we can kind of show you how to get work the portal.
Okay. I can do that. This company that they work for you right now,
Berquist?
Berquist?
If you want to contract them independently, I believe we don't care.
Well,
we're questioning the value, and we're thinking we can handle it all in-house. And so we haven't fired them, but we think that, with our experience, that we can handle it internally.
Okay. The other question I have is at the end of the month when our contract ends, or middle of the month, whenever that is, next month, I don't want to lose continuity with this.
Yeah, we could convert everything to you or the new management company, whoever, however.
All right.
We did need the financials accepted, and like I say, if you have questions, but this is what's already exists. So this is what's been paid, what's been collected, and they're in your monthly financial statement. They're part of the books that we'll turn over.
Right.
So we'd like a motion to accept them. You're not approving them, you're just accepting them.
You want a motion to accept the financials?
Here's the guy that's looking at all those.
Yeah. I don't, nothing jumps out at me.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
You're actually accepting these for audit, because the auditors that you retain, they go through these and right now they're doing 2022, and that file will also be turned over to the new management company. Sure.
Make a motion, we accept it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else?
That's pretty much all I had. I did just want to also, in preparation of the meeting, I watched the last meeting tape. And just for the record, I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of a few things. Invoices, we're all sending them to Mr. McNamee now. Nothing's paid until he signs off on them. We do have a records retention policy. Now that's PDM's record retention policy, but it's also what's been adopted by the board. And what we don't allow, because both statutorily and in your contract, we're responsible for the integrity and maintenance of the integrity of those records. So we don't allow anyone to just come in and ramble through them. So it's, but we will allow, tell us what you want, or set up an appointment and we'll have somebody attend and oversee, just make sure that the records are being maintained. Now, in my at your last meeting, last Wednesday, it's the same thing I told all of the new board members coming in on our webinar, that you got to tell us what it is and you've got to have somebody observing. That's my liability if not. And that's what we've accepted both statutorily and contractually. If you look at our contract with you, you'll see that we've accepted the liability for the integrity of those records.
What's the charge to have someone observe?
Whatever, we put our cheapest is probably $25, $30 an hour. I would have to see who's available at that time. And so all your records are pretty much electronic.
Yeah, you said we had like 26 boxes that aren't, right?
Yeah, they're just things that didn't necessarily have to be, the state statute identifies what has to be electronically kept. And we've got all of those. When we first took over, we were sent, I don't know, 130, 140 boxes, but they've all been digitized. We have them, and we've offered every record of proceedings. We can put it on a thumb drive to anyone that wants it, but they have to be maintained. And I did want to apologize to Supervisor Kish. What you sent was copied to Francesca, and she was the only one that could handle that.
What's that?
That was a zoning question.
Oh, yeah.
12-1. At the last meeting, you said you hadn't, and I probably should have told you. You copied her, so I figured that it was taken care of.
I sent it to everybody.
Okay.
So I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's I couldn't answer the question. I would have either sent it to Tony or to Francesca, and she was copied, so I figured that she would handle it, and I should have communicated that to you. So I'm sorry about that. Other than that, all the FEMA stuff we'll have prepared. We'll put everything probably on thumb drives electronically. We'll have a company bring all of the boxes. I've got a box of all the junk that I got. That's all in there. So everything will just be submitted to whoever your new company is. Okay?
Tony, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I have a handout. I think we may want to have it discussed in more detail in the next board meeting. The board talked about establishing various committees. And I have templates I use for other boards geared towards advisory committees, because the problem, we talk about fact-finding committees, but those are difficult because people tend to wander off the fact-finding trail and it's not sunshine onto recommendations, recommendatory. And so what I have, and I just handed out, we can also include the next agenda packet, are the form like a template of a resolution as well as a meeting protocol for the committees. So you all can look at that and see if that, then you can, we can then fill in the blank, I'll call it, with the scope of the individual committees and their names and how you all want to go. And, just briefly go through this is, give it a name, each one of the committees, and then we also, in paragraph 3, talk about the maximum number of members. Some people like to have 3, some 5, some 7. Because the difficulty that I've experienced, my boards have experienced, are getting people to, number one, volunteer, and to appear to the meetings in order to establish a quorum. So that's something to take into account depending upon the nature of the various individual committees. You know, one
These
might be-
committees have to have a quorum?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So what you're proposing is there one of these for every committee?
Yes. And you can put in the term for each one, it can be different. You may want to have one last term of a year, you may want to have one that doesn't have any termination on it. But then give a sort of a charge as to what they're going to, in paragraph 8, I left it blank. The scope, purpose, roles, and responsibility of the committee are as follows, blank.
Okay.
One of my boards wanted to set up a Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, but they didn't want to have a 5,000 acre development. They didn't want to give a committee saying, okay, do anything and everything about Parks and Recreation because it would eat up staff time and it wouldn't give any parameters. So that board said, here's a very narrow scope of your initial charge. If we want to give you more later on, we'll do that for you.
Okay.
So this, we'll include this in the next, Cal, we can include it in the next board packet also. So the board can then indicate which ones they want to establish. We can then adopt resolutions for each one of them.
Perfect.
At that time. And also, if you have any suggestions on the protocol, and that helps both the board and the committee members understand how to conduct the meeting.
I remember you talking that you might put on a little dog and pony show if we.
Sure.
For committees.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a sunshine law presentation for the committees. We do that also.
Okay.
We just did one for an advisory committee for one of my districts last week.
All right. We'll all take a look at this.
Yeah,
next
if y'all
month.
could do that.
Okay. Anything else?
When we get down later on, a couple of items. Want me to go into some of the attorney items or not? Or well, just briefly under 13B, lawsuit update. We only have one lawsuit pending. That's the Trust Act, and we're engaging in discovery and ongoing discovery with regards to that. And one thing we may need to, when we talk about the new management company, because right now during the discovery, certain requests for discovery require that an officer, director, or individual associated with the district answer or respond, like interrogatories. So then that would be a new function or a function of the new manager. And there might be some historical items that we may need to talk with Cal about. On some, we can talk about that when we come to it. But generally, those records in the district offices should be able to provide the requisite information to answer the question.
I know you're going with this. Is there any possibility that we can sit down and work this out between us?
There's never any problem with setting up informal discussions with opposing parties in litigation. So if you feel like you want to reach out to the plaintiff, we can contact their attorney, Mr. DeCosta, and say, hey, is your client willing to sit down informally with the chairman and ourselves, and we'll just try to talk about it and see if there's a possible way of resolution. That's always, we always recommend alternative dispute resolution that's cheaper, and using an informal process as opposed to going to a formal mediation.
What do you folks think?
It's always.
Yeah, I mean, we had one sit down last year with Mr. Kish, Cal, and I.
Get it over with.
We had to stay for a while, but there's no harm in that. So we'll contact Mr. DeCosta then and just say that you and I would like to meet with he and his client.
Yes, let's do that. See if we can get it figured out. Okay.
No, something like that, would we have to like authorize you to make a decision or?
He cannot make a decision.
It has to come back to the board.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make the decision anyway.
You can't.
I don't want to. All right.
And then, because with the question that will become is whether or not, after that conversation, whether or not we would need to request a closed door session or whether we could just put something forward at the board meeting or in advance of the board meeting so the board can consider. And that's one way to do it. Where,
Who's going to meet you and?
Mr. Krupman, myself, and Mr. DeCosta, who's the attorney for Trapmac and Alligator Boys.
Cost for the letter? We'll authorize it.
$800,000 or lira. In Italian, it's probably $6.48. Now,
Okay, let's authorize them 10.
It may take some back and forth, so I really can't tell you what the not to exceed is, because once we contact Mr. DeCosta, Well, I have to get some, I suggest that if you can send me some dates in advance, that way.
I will make whatever date works for you.
Okay, and so
Whatever
we'll
works.
ask him whatever the available dates in the next 2 weeks to meet at our office.
Absolutely,
And,
absolutely. Let's just try to do it as clean and simple as we can. I don't, oh, we also were looking into whether or not our insurance company may cover this.
Yeah, that's in the policy.
We haven't received a response from
Have not. I was in contact with them a couple days ago. They were supposed to be back to me last week with their answer, and they're working on it. So they were going to get back by Monday. The lady said maybe by today I would have it. I did not get a call this morning, so I assume it's Monday.
If you could, I don't know, how do you have to let Tony know then what you're coming up with, or?
He's copying Tony. Tony, you're getting copied.
Okay.
I think all the stuff
I don't know if I've seen it. I'll double check, but
with Jeff. Ring a bell.
it doesn't ring a bell. But we've been going through, I was telling Ms. Hanson, we've undergone conversions to our system to the cloud. I will double check though, and if not, I'll give you a call.
Okay.
All right. I thought, when I looked at it, I thought you were getting copied on everything. So.
Cool.
Talking about insurance, that's the other thing that we have done that we had to do for the FEMA claims. We have to have a statement from the insurance company that none of the things we're requesting are covered by insurance.
Okay.
So we've started that process.
Okay,
yes.
thanks. So hopefully we'll get something from them saying that they may help us with this. So
Hopefully.
and that'll make a big difference on, what our position is here as far as settling it or taking it the rest of the way.
Well, I think what we'll end up with too is probably another opinion from them as to why they will get involved or why they won't,
Sure.
or if they will, I'll definitely ask them if they are going to be involved.
Okay.
Did we give the insurance company a number? A dollar amount?
We haven't done anything with it.
Okay. Well, how are they gonna agree to whether it's covered?
It's only been going on for 5 years. Why would we?
I don't see Mr. Truckee, but I'll double check when I get
I
back.
know that's what they're discussing, and they're discussing
That's the problem.
a couple other things.
This started 5 years ago and we're just bringing it to them now.
Mr. Truckee, I haven't seen an email, just quickly checking.
Okay.
Double check that.
I'll look on, I thought you were copied on the CCs on those, but
Thank you. I got the ones with Justin and,
did you get one from Richard?
let me check that. I'll search while you're all talking about
Okay.
it. I don't want to hold you up, I apologize.
I could probably look here.
Okay, we're gonna try to clean this up in the next half hour.
Let's go.
So the next thing is parking signs and towing discussion. I remember seeing something about that, if we wanted to.
Yes, what was sent to you was a memorandum, and the law hasn't changed since that time, giving the parameters and the criteria if you want to set up a towing policy, a form of a resolution if you want to adopt a towing policy, designating areas as tow-away zones. And so that's the question, if the board wants to have that discussion table, wait for another board meeting and get some more community input. If you want to establish tow-away zones, and if so, where? And then I would suggest that once you have that conversation, that we have a specific agenda item saying, board adopting a resolution to tow-away zones for particular areas. If not,
So I'm a little disappointed with the county. When they were here last time, it basically said enforcement was gonna be put on hold for a couple of months while we sorted this out, and then they proceeded to go out and give warnings.
Code enforcement for RVs, yeah, that was different.
Yeah, they went out for 30 to 50 of them. So we got, and I'm kind of unclear on that because they're going around to enforce the RVs and the trailers and the boats and whatnot. And I'm looking at their property, and they're all in zone C4 zoning there. And I don't see how they're getting by doing what they're doing on their property.
If you all believe that the county is unequally applying their codes, I would suggest you notify your county commissioner and say, listen, we believe what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you all are citing people for having trailers on property that there are no structures, Maybe that's different. County property, where's the county storing?
The property where the hotel is, that's RT, recreation, and so they can have trailers on there. But that goes, it actually splits that building where the fire station goes. That line goes across there and then down Newport Drive. And everything in there is RT, but everything outside of that is C4. Well, they've got parking all along that grass between that and Newport.
County does?
Yeah.
County
And then they've got the big corral in the back that they rent storage out to. Plus they park on the other side of the street with the same stuff. And I'm just looking at that and going, why are they enforcing it on us and not on themselves?
I would have a conversation with the county about that.
I got you.
But again, on the towing, so if the board wishes to go ahead, I can, again, prepare a blanket resolution, not designate a towaway zone, gives you the ability in the future to adopt a resolution to designate towaway zones. But if we do the initial blanket resolution or general resolution, it gives you authority to go out there, solicit using a towing company that the county uses to at least line that up. If the board does not want to, I'll just, again, these are all in my archive file, so.
I don't even know what the rules are for parking on like Kay's Drive. I mean, if you park on the street, what's the rule?
No,
No?
for a boat?
And no, a vehicle, even a car.
Well, to the extent we have the district roads, the district can say no parking is allowed between certain times in certain areas and designate those as towaway zones.
And we'd have to post that though, right?
Yes.
But we've got the
I don't want
county,
signs out.
we've got the county coming out to meet with us supposedly to, you know, get the layout of what they'll accept and what they won't accept and that sort of stuff. I think we should put this tollway thing on hold until we get this all dealt with them.
That's fine by me.
Okay.
No use spending money on it until we know what we're spending money
I
on.
have to ask the question to everyone here. If we had to talk to the county about a ordinance change or a zoning ordinance change, let's call it, for Port of the Islands, do people want to allow boats in the driveways for a couple days to work on them?
Well, a couple days.
Or do you want a trailer, to be able to park a trailer off the side of your driveway? Or those are the things that are in question. I see Karen going back there like this.
But my question is, it's got to be consistent.
Yes.
And that's my point is, it's got to be consistent for everyone, everything. Because the county has stated their guidelines, local HOAs, covenants, whoever, can come up with their own, but they can't be less restrictive than the county. And that's throughout the whole county.
Right, but we could, as being out here as Port of the Islands, we could approach the county for an ordinance change for our community.
But
Self-governed.
when I asked about ordinance change, they told me no.
What might
They
be
said it
possible?
should be changed because it is a voting community,
Exactly.
but they were saying that's why there's stipulations in there and how they've written it.
There's a process that you can go through for things like that. And
But
it
then are
takes,
you, okay, I'm sorry, but then are you going to allow RV parking? Because if you allow, because we are a voting community as well as an RV camper community. Because people go on holiday and everything with their RV. Are you gonna, because that's what's gonna come up.
okay, well, Karen, let me say this. I'm just telling you stirred things up a little bit, okay? So we did get some phone
I
calls.
haven't said anything about boats or anything.
No, well, trailers.
So,
Anyway, things have been stirred up lately. We've gotten complaints that they had to move their trailers and move their boats, and the county's been around, going through a bunch of people that had issues. With that being said, they're all saying, what can we do about it? And my answer to that was, get together as a community and go through the process for an ordinance change for our community. Otherwise, on an individual basis, you won't get it. They're not going to say you can do it, but your neighbor can't. That would create tons of problems, right? So as a community, we could look at trying to do something as an ordinance change to allow boats to be in your driveway for a few days, or if you're going to work on them, or if you're going to clean them up, scrub the bottom, whatever you're going to do. Right now, I believe, I was doing this the other night late. I was trying to look at all this. Motorhomes, I think, are up to 7 days And that for a permit to have a motorhome in your driveway, and then after that, you can have another 7 days, you can have 2 consecutive, but 4 per year,
It's two 7-day permits twice a year.
twice a
And the
year,
permit
correct?
has to be placed on the RV or boat or whatever is placed out there.
Right.
And you can have it's a 3-day out on your property.
I think
And
the
I
way,
just want to go on record for anyone or anybody that thinks that I have written anything to the county regarding boats, trailers, or anything.
Okay.
I have not. Let's just get that straight.
okay,
That's just,
thank you. What I'm thinking is, first of all, we got to get together with the county and see what our options are. First thing. I mean, will they let us self-govern our own little community here and stay off our backs that way? If they will, then we have to bring it to the community as a whole and see what the majority of the community wants. So it isn't that we're going to say, this is that. It's going to be up to you folks or all of us to decide how we want this community to be policed, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, give us one.
So it'll take us a little while to get that worked through, and hopefully we can do that, in a very short period, but we'll be working on it, Catherine.
Catherine Kellmeyer, Newport Drive side. My question would be, what kind of oversight would the CID have for private property, which is all of Sunset K going down the west side of Newport, and any of the other HOAs where my parking lot for Sunset K Lakes is one of my amenities for one. It's part of the master property. And
But
it's
first of
private.
all, we have to find out if we're even allowed to do it. I mean, it might just be up to the county, and they're gonna come out and put out their warnings just like everything now. So until we find out if it's even an option for us to talk about what you're talking about, we have to get the basis down first.
Right.
Correct?
Frankly, I agree with what she said. And also, there are some other things to consider. There is the county and the positioning and leveling of codes, and I understand that. But if a community had a signed agreement with the county, if the community had gone in as a HUD and it had all been approved, and all that was approved, and we were told for one change in our community, we could not make it because by 2 attorneys, that it would require the consent of every financial institution that had a mortgage there, and we would never get that. There are some changes that are at different levels that go through a change. So what I'm saying is, talk to the communities as you're talking, Steve, and I applaud what you're saying, because people that say, well, it's this or that are wrong. There are contracts, there are agreements in place with government that allow certain things, as this good lady just pointed out on private property.
Mm-hmm.
She's right.
so Karen, Catherine, do you know on your parking lot over there, is that residential car parking, or is it?
part of the master association, part of Sunset K Lake. Sunset K Villas is a completely different thing.
Okay.
But our master association does have rules, I'll use that word, about boat trailers being parked for maintenance can only be X number of times. So we do have that we are self-policed.
Let's move this along, but what I think is we need to get the
base.
base information with the county to find out what our options are first, and then start down this road of how each individual HOA is and whatnot.
Okay, Kathy Oswald, Newport Drive. I have a concern that if the CID decides we can't park on the grassy area on Newport, I'm just saying, you're saying that you're gonna post signs that we tow-away zones.
Or
Okay?
When did we say that?
Just now, you said you're considering signs that trailers and cars cannot be parked on the right of way on Newport and such. Did you not?
that's about that car and truck you said were parked in the grass.
Okay.
So
Okay.
along Newport, when the boat parking area fills up.
But I thought we
on
tabled the
weekends
whole
and busy
idea
weekends.
of tow-away zones and so forth until we had more information.
Okay,
That's my.
I'd like you to consider, okay, while you're getting more information, what I'd like you to consider is when we repave our parking lots, when we have to repave, we have nowhere else to park but on that grassy area. And I don't want anyone to get towed because we have nowhere else to park. That's just, that's all I'm saying.
Just notify the board when that's gonna happen. We will work with any of the neighborhoods. We will work with that.
I could see my car getting towed just because I'm getting an asphalt job.
No, everyone runs into that. We have roofs going in right now and stuff, and we had to move cars.
Okay, that was just one of my concerns. I just put it
Mr.
out
Chairman,
there.
just briefly, when Mr. Truckee, when you talk about the county, Mr. McNamee, one thought you may want to toss out there is the overlay district. There are a number of areas of the county where there are zoning overlays that allow some variations from the typical zoning requirements. For example, Goodland has an overlay, the Bayshore Gateway Triangle has an overlay, Mockley has an overlay. Other areas where they allow some variations, deviations, quote unquote, from the typical items, recognizing the unique nature of that particular community or area.
Right.
So that's, mention that.
That's kind of the process I was talking about.
It's an overlay, so you meant, basically, it's, because here you have the different zoning categories. You have C4, you have RT, you have this, and this way the overlay can be over all those areas where people are comfortable with it being overlaid. So that's
Last thing on this. The CID isn't gonna come in and tell you HOAs what that you're gonna end up
But
doing.
we're on CID property. We're parking on CID property right there on Newport Drive.
On Newport, yeah.
If our asphalt is, if we have
She's
nowhere
talking
else
about
to
an
park,
exception
we
if
will
they
have to
have
park on
maintenance
the
in
grassy
the
area of
parking lot.
CID property.
We could
Just
work
saying.
that out.
We're gonna work with
And
you.
I understand,
We're
Dan,
gonna
and
work
all we
with you.
do is just let you all know that we have to park there.
And we might
Okay.
make a call to the county and tell
Okay.
them that, for this next period of time, we have an issue. And
I also want to bring up the fact that you all are talking about, having different rules for us versus the county and their county parking over the marina. I've watched, they've got a trailer over in the marina that's on the grassy area under one of the trees. That thing's been there for 3 months and it's so rusted, you couldn't move it if you wanted to. And it's an eyesore. But yet the county isn't doing anything about it because it's their property.
We just went over that.
I know, that's what I'm saying, I agree with you guys on that. What's good for one is good for all.
Okay, let's move on.
And Steve, one thing, this is Karen Reed, one thing to consider when you're looking for an agreement with the county, how is that gonna impact the houses coming over here with their HOA if they can't have votes? And that's part of it, because remember, what we put over, with the place over here, wouldn't that happen over on Park 13? So they would then be able to park boats?
The restrictions that are on that property right now, they're never gonna have boats.
No, but the restrictions, we have restrictions over in sanctuary. But I'm saying if there's agreement or you come up with something, I'm just saying consider it when you're discussing it, because they may come up and say, hey, wait a minute, we're part of the islands, we want to park a boat as well.
Well, they've already got a lot of their own restrictions that were self-imposed.
Yeah.
And they will also, if there's homes there, when these decisions are made, they will all be included in it.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
All right, thank you. Eric Workman, rezoning parcel 13.
That's that thing I sent you guys.
Yeah.
With the minimum setbacks and everything that were ridiculous.
Like 40 foot wide and
40
70 foot long.
Yeah.
Now, I had a conversation with Lindsay Case over an hour on the phone, and we discussed that exact thing. And he wasn't aware that that was the thing, and he says that doesn't make any sense. So he's actually gonna have to go back and read this stuff.
Okay.
I think he doesn't know.
So somebody's got to contact Ortman. I told him that I didn't think it was going to work, but that somebody would contact him.
Yeah, I'm keeping in touch with him to make sure that it's working well. Swale issue, I assume here we're still talking about 163 and 4? 62 or 3, whatever. Now, the last time when the county was here, I asked them point blank, and they said basically, from what if I'm remembering correctly, that if they put in a 15-inch pipe on there and cement
DOT box.
DOT box, that the county would probably be satisfied with that. That's something that, he said, but we don't have that in writing. So it's not even an option yet. That's the other thing that we want to discuss with them when they go around with some of us and ask them, exactly what are you going to allow? So then we can decide after that. But for right now, I still think we're on a hold on that, aren't we?
Yeah, we have to move forward, but it's like we said before, it's a very involved process.
But they gave us like 2 months to do it. Yeah.
Gave us some time.
They gave us up. They said they weren't going to do any enforcement for 2 months. Right?
I got the sense they weren't going to do anything until this board
Till we
comes
got
back
back
with a
to it.
resolution.
Yeah, I know.
I think, Jeff Lobterno said,
Yeah.
you guys worked this out, and Jack said the same thing, I think.
And we will.
Karen?
I think as Jack McKenna said last week at that special meeting was, the engineering may be satisfied with some of the things, but then again, there's other departments that would have to be involved and would have to agree.
Yeah, well, he said with engineering that 12-inch culvert would probably work, but the code enforcement might not accept that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, there's
yeah.
more than just.
So if we went with the 15-inch engineering and the box, DOT boxes and everything, they should be good with the count.
All right. We will,
Back to the way it was.
and this drama will continue. GIS agreement status, I believe we already covered that.
We did.
Supervisors' request and or comments.
We're actually skipped right over 12.
12?
The attorney went down.
You're right, we did. Budget amendment, resolution?
That was whatever you guys want to do. You had the loan in and out, that needs to be reflected in your budget, and you've got the sale, the proceeds from the sale of the parcel 13 that needs to be included in your budget.
Okay.
If you're going to use any of it.
Yeah, we'll be using it.
We'll be using it.
Yeah. I just don't want to use all of it, all at once.
So do we want to make a motion to accept this, or what do you want to do?
Well, we presented one couple meetings ago.
Okay.
But there's no urgency on it. You can push it off and let the new management company handle it.
Okay. So we can just table that for now?
Sure.
Okay. Anything else? Managers? Come on, you got something. No?
Well, the only thing I had, which we didn't talk about, and I don't know if the guy that's here, that dock that's going on there.
That 55-foot one?
Yeah, 55-foot dock. I don't know.
They moved the date of that February
They moved it back.
something.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know.
So that didn't go through. Yeah, it hasn't been to the county yet. There is a sign in front of their house that says where and when.
I mean, who can go?
Anybody. It's open to the public.
Yeah, but I mean, who has impact upon the board, if any, you know what I mean?
The board
Or
wouldn't
with
necessarily have
planning.
any official input on it, but I'm sure they would listen to us.
Are there any docks out 55 feet already? Anywhere?
I don't believe so. I think they've been letting 35 foot.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's 15 feet on top of the 20 that's there. Everybody gets 20 off the bat before they have to apply for more. So
Yeah,
this
but I think they have allowed up to 35 so far.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're going to allow, from what I'm understanding, that canal going in there is like 300 and some feet wide, but there again, 55 feet's getting out there. But us as a board, I don't believe we have any control over it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I figured the manatee people would get involved with
Would
that.
owners have an insight? Is it not a public hearing?
Absolutely.
Anybody can go?
Go to the meeting and put your
2 cents.
inside, yeah.
Yep, sign up when you go there. Make sure you sign up when you walk in the room that you're going to speak. Because later they usually don't give you a chance to speak if you didn't sign up. So sign up if you're going to speak.
I would assume there will be several people there.
Okay.
I think I'll go to it just to see what's going on, but I don't know what the process is. I don't know how difficult it is to get through. Karen, did you go to that last one?
On the special one last week?
when they were getting that dock extension, the girls?
Oh, no, John Sager went.
He went?
Tim went.
Okay. Tim, your husband went? Oh, okay.
They went, yeah. And actually, the people from the county called them.
Oh, they did? Okay, so do you know what the process is, or do you have any insight on that?
You mean when they go down and they file for the extension?
Yeah, in the meeting, what goes on?
No.
Okay,
Is this a boat dock extension?
yeah.
Typically before the hearing examiner,
Mm-hmm.
is an attorney, Andrew Dickman, staff prepares a staff report in advance. You can go online to the City View portal and get the application and get the staff report. And then ahead of time, you can submit any comments or objections you may have. The criteria for boat dock extensions are listed in the ordinance as to the reasons why they want it. And so people would, and typically the hearing examiner will listen to everybody and say, I'm constrained to make my decision based upon the criteria outlined in the ordinance as to whether or not the criteria have been met for an extension beyond the allowable length.
So really, people's opinions really aren't that important, it's
they
the
can't.
rules.
No, it's important, yeah,
It matters.
it's important. Primarily, it's the issue with regards to a number of issues, but one is navigability, does it affect, navigation? Another one is, does it adversely impact riparian views or riparian rights? And that's the whole issue about extending lots out to the water.
Yeah.
And then they talk about seagrasses and depths
People's
of water.
views and all that.
Yeah, all those
Yeah.
come into play. So
Yeah.
when you look at, when somebody goes on the city view, you'll see the application, how the applicants addressed those from their position. When you go on city view, you will also see the staff report as to how the staff applies the facts that are provided or additional facts the staff has to the criteria along with the staff's recommendation to the hearing examiner.
Well, do you think we as a board should have an opinion?
My advice to boards on zoning and land use matters is that if there's an indication that a district facility will be adversely impacted or affected, then the district has the ability to participate. By way of example, up in Lee County Gateway, there's a huge old landfill that's not totally out of commission yet because they're using that as staging for a lot of Ian stuff. But a number of years ago, there was concern with regards to a certain modification of the permits and zoning for that landfill. And my district board said, people are all upset, the residents around there are all upset. What can we do? I said, well, the district's facilities are not impacted by odor. So that's not a legitimate basis. However, if there's going to be an increase in the number of trips on the district roads by virtue of trucks going in and out of this facility by this change, then the district has a legitimate opportunity. Or since the district is the supplier of water, if the district has a well, and the district water will be impacted by any leaching and all that. Anyways, so absent that, the boat dock extension, I don't believe the district has the ability to expend the public funds for that.
Okay.
Long-winded story, but that's
None of our business.
generally, again, if it affects utilities.
Not the board.
It's only personal.
Or anything else. But again, people go on City View portal.
Yeah, anybody from the board can go there and, like anyone else, and share their views.
See, just something that if I remember correctly is when they looked at it was the width of the canal, and if they extended the dock to a certain area, the navigable area between the two sides, if they were approaching anything, because sometimes your water is more shallow. I know that's one thing that they did look at.
I would think that the view blocking the rest of the people would be
No,
a
not
far
the
bigger
view.
hindrance
Yeah.
than,
No, it's just how much water is in between the two
I know,
sides.
okay.
They do have things, the minimum, I think it's 10% of the canal width, so 30-something feet would be
Yeah.
acceptable under the rules. And they look at shaded water, the environmental people with the county get involved because we went through that for our boat dock.
Right.
So they really look at how much shaded water you're gonna have, how it affects the environment, the width of the canal, the views for people.
Okay, supervisors request, we're still working. Anybody else?
13A now. 13A.
Mr. Chairman, may I just?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Before we get into the new, just briefly, I happened to print out an email I had with all the various invoices.
Yes?
And so the invoice from GIS Solutions is dated January 1st, 2023, in the amount of $2,750. So we're within the window to send out a dispute on that.
How much?
2007.
Okay.
And it's indicated as being $100 per hour rate and updates to the web application. I guess the question is, were those authorized or directed to update it? Did Joel give them directions, Cal, to update the web application? Because it does not appear to be based upon the phasing in the proposal. I could be wrong, but that's how.
So what I just cut to the chase as far as what's your opinion on
Well, I guess the question is that scope of work under the original phasing, 1, 2, 3, 2022, 23, 24, or is this additional updates to the web application as indicated, and if they were authorized? And so that's.
Yeah, nothing above the contract.
I'm sorry?
Nothing above the contract was authorized.
So I guess the question is, were there updates authorized or ordered? And there might be an issue with the vendor, how he's describing his services, but update seems to be different than providing the initial service.
If we just got that invoice, the first, I think that we should just sit down with them and talk about it, get it straightened out.
Well, I think what you may want to do then is change it, is that you sit down, talk with the vendor, and if you don't come to a resolution, send the dispute out
There you go. Yeah, I agree.
within the time frame.
Keep it civil until we can. Anyone else have a supervisor's request? How about you, Cal? Anything?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I do.
Cool.
Okay, here recently there was a theft in our community, and I, as a supervisor, and would like to actually form a committee of myself to look into maybe a gated community on both sides, to actually have gates come down just long enough to stall you to take your picture going in and out. That's my response.
Okay.
Any comments?
It's come up before.
It's come up, yeah, I brought it up years ago.
It's not feasible.
Well, I think we've got to investigate it.
Okay.
Get costs, and then actually we got to figure out how to get the will of the people.
Right.
Go.
In addition, you need to double check whether or not you have the ability, the special power for access control under the statute. And secondly, whether or not the county will allow you to have, under the current zoning, a gate on over a district road.
Yeah, I know it, and it has to do with whether or not you got somebody watching it,
The public has to get
all
access,
that,
you
yeah.
can't deny access to the district road.
Yeah.
You can regulate, you can't deny.
Yeah.
What about even like speed bumps? Putting a speed bump in there to slow them down
That's
and take a
different.
picture.
Again, what you may need to do though is apply to the county for a minor site improvement plan amendment or site development plan amendment to install pumps, tables, plateaus, whatever you want to call them.
Okay, now we skipped new business, management service transition update, the short-term agreement with PDM.
I don't believe there's we just received a response from Tony yesterday to what we submitted last week. And our attorney reviews everything for us, leases, whatever. So I haven't had an opportunity to have him review it.
Okay, I guess the question, are we talking about what you sent, Cal? The extension? Yeah, from the standpoint of my advice to the board's going to enter into this, it's appropriate, except striking the last sentence.
I agree.
The last sentence is,
That's a deal breaker.
it's a mutual release for all kinds of liabilities during the agreement. And that's, I would not recommend that.
And
So but the rest of it, I think is appropriate for an extension.
does anyone have any?
Well, we have to know, I guess, we're approaching that timeframe. Our next meeting's February, and that'll be after Cal leaves if we don't do the extension, correct?
No, I thought you stayed until the 18th.
Yeah.
Well, we're on the 17th, you'll be here
for the
one
last
by
one.
one day, okay. You'll be here for the last one in February, okay.
But
I guess
he need,
it would be nice to know before the next meeting. So how can we do that?
Well, I guess the board could approve entering into the extension of services agreement with the deletion of the last sentence.
But they have to agree to it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And until our attorney reviews it, we wouldn't be in agreement.
But the board still could approve it, subject to, I mean, obviously it requires a vote, but the board could still approve the form extension of services agreement with the deletion of the last sentence.
I make a motion that we enter into the agreement with the understanding that that line would have to be removed.
The last sentence.
Last sentence would have to be removed from the agreement.
I'll second it. I don't see what he could be responsible for after the meeting anyway.
No, it's for.
He's talking about previous.
It's the agreement for the last few years also.
Oh, no,
I
I was
thought-
relieving them of anything that comes up.
Anything that happened.
Okay.
Any
Well,
discussion?
I still
I
second
won't.
it.
Any discussion?
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gil, who's your attorney?
Say no.
Jack Morgan.
You say?
No,
He's downtown.
I don't agree.
With
He's not a
the,
CDD
they're taking the last line.
No, I'm
He's
figuring.
a corporate
If you
business
can-
attorney.
I don't
if you
care.
can communicate this to him and then.
Sure. You guys got to go vote, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was 4-0?
3.
3, who
Me.
was, no, oh, okay, so 3-1 with Mr. McNamee, no.
And Annalise has been working on another company besides these gentlemen, hoping that within the next week or so, we could have a decision on that. And then I don't know if we want to look at having a special meeting before the next month.
We have to.
Yes, so
That was
we
one
have to
of the
give
reasons.
7 days prior notice to that.
You have to advertise.
7 days in advance.
Right, but you have to, you should give 10 days notice because the paper's not going to put it in that day.
You know, I was saying is typically you want to get it to the paper 10 days in advance of the meeting, so you have time to read it, proof it, and give the date, so you want
Okay.
7 days.
Can we do an emergency meeting on that?
I would say, right now, it wouldn't qualify as emergency. I think you could pick a date and time now.
It won't, yes.
How about,
Again, if you do it, say that your next meeting is the 17th. Say you have it for the 3rd. Let's just pick a date out of the air.
the trouble is, these guys are gonna want 30 days, to get up to speed. And I would assume that the other companies would be in the same boat. So we're really running out of time
We
here.
have to know by the end of the month,
End of this month.
this month.
We
Well, it's
don't
not
have
very
enough
far
time
from
to
10
get
days,
it on those
10 days is the 30th, 11th, yeah.
Because what I'd have to do is rush back to the office, prepare the notice of the special meeting, send it off to the Daily News, hopefully get a proof back today, hopefully get an advertisement date within 7 days in advance of the meeting.
I don't know
You
that
could
our-
continue
our-
this meeting and then you wouldn't have to advertise it.
Yeah, well, continue to a date and time certain,
Right.
but the problem is, it has to be a relatively short period of time. You can't go beyond, if you want to do it next Friday, you're thinking?
If we could do an extension and
The
cut,
next Friday, but nothing past, I don't like to have extensions longer than 7 days.
should we set it up for a week from now?
She's got to make sure we get that agreement or whatever.
Well, we'll
whoever
just
they
have
look-
to make it happen.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll just come and adjourn. I mean, what are you going to do?
Would the community center be available next Friday?
I'm checking.
Okay,
And next Friday, I've got a commitment, but I can have Gabby be here.
Short.
perfect.
Short.
Yes, sir.
I just let you know, my daughter's birthday is next week and I've already got plans, so I will not be here next Friday.
Gotcha. Thank you.
That's okay.
We're talking the 28th?
So,
June 27th.
27? Yeah, we're good for that.
Okay.
All right,
Oops.
let's do that. We have to, that's why I wanted to see the extension and give us 30 days from a company. If we can do it by the end of the month, we'll have our 30 days. If Cal extends, and that will work out.
Okay.
If,
Justin, can Mr. Fairclough be, Mr. Whitlock be here?
I believe so.
So you can have a representative. of the
Okay,
company.
perfect. Last thing, audience comments?
If the board's going to do that at the end of this meeting, not adjourn, but continue it to January 27th, at this location, at what time?
28th, I think it was.
Huh?
You can have.
Or 27th, I'm sorry.
You can have it earlier than 9:30 if you want.
I don't care.
Okay.
Are you gonna be?
You haven't,
8:30, yeah, I'm up. every
Okay,
day,
8:30.
5:30.
will 8:30 work for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry. She's more important than me.
That's all right.
She controls the building.
All right.
But
Good to
then
go?
yeah, I'm good, but as opposed to adjourning, we get to that part and continue it to
Okay.
the 8 and 5.
Okay, gotcha. Any other audience comments? Go.
I just have a quick choice for you now. I just have a question. You were talking earlier to Mitch about the culvert repair. Is that something that you're looking at not doing until you get grant money, or something you're going to be moving forward? Orchid Cove was very concerned with the flooding that happened during Ian. It wasn't that much rain, and that flood water came right up to where our fence is, and you saw how the back all flooded. We're concerned with the substantial rain, it's coming to us because those culverts aren't taking any of that water away. So is it your intention to wait until you have grant money, or will you be looking to move forward on that?
Well, first off, they're gonna move forward on it because they have to get in there and get that generator set, and there's things that have to get done, so they're going to do some work on the road. First off, there's only one or two culverts that have been up and down that thing a couple of times that you could, the one is washed right out, the other one is, you could say it's washed out. And they filled some gravel around it, but those two culverts you need replacing. The rest of the culverts at this time are moving water.
Okay.
All right, so, and the big ones that really count, they're down on the end of the well road. There's two big culverts. They gotta be, they're pretty big. There's two of those down there that are moving water just fine. And then the original two are the big culverts that move water closer to us, right? And those are moving water just fine. And then in between, they have smaller culverts that gotta be about a 16-inch culvert or something about that, 15-inch culvert. And a couple of those, the ends are bent a little bit on, but I looked and they're moving water just fine. So it isn't like this has really changed. Okay, it's not, those culverts, all the water right now on those culverts, I was out there 2 days ago, all the water is on, if you're heading out towards the wells, it's on the right side. If that road is doing anything right now, it's keeping water away from you, than it is stopping, blocking the flow the other way.
Just very concerned at 4 inches of rain and it came off that close to us. And I know a lot has to do with the water that's been restored to the area, so I'm also reaching out to South Florida Water Management because we are truly concerned that we're on a path to flood. So I'm forming a committee also that's going to be looking in and doing research on it, and maybe we could share notes as we go down.
Sure, and we're working with them too because I want them to be totally aware that I think we're going to have infrastructure problems because of the impact of the restoration of the Everglades. Okay, and that could be, it has to do with our roads, it has to do with our well, everything.
Thank you.
So
Be cognizant of the water main running through there too. 'Cause that's going to be impacted because it's underground.
Yeah, we're looking at trying to get it raised.
Yeah. But right now you have that water under the FEMA reimbursement.
You're not going to see that. It sounds like you're going to want to do the well road and upgrade it pretty soon.
He's already supposed to start on it right now.
Right. But whatever you do, that water main's not going to be raised in the next couple of years unless you fund it yourself.
Well, we'll have to see.
Right. Well, we'll look at that, but that is something that we're trying to address. If you come up with the right desk, as I would call it, let me know. Right now, as they find out that we're talking about impacts from the thing, I am being transferred from one desk to the next right now. Nobody wants to deal with it, but I'll get there. We'll have a desk at some point.
Any other? Go.
Catherine Oswald, Newport Drive. At the last meeting, I asked the water meter cover to be addressed at the end of my building. It has still not been fixed, and now there's one right next to it that is starting to just disintegrate. My question being, who reads the meters? Is it one of Mitch's guys? I mean, it's one of our guys from the water plant, right?
Yes.
Okay. Wouldn't you think that when they read the meters, that they would report back to Mitch and tell them, hey, we've got a water meter cover that's broken?
You know,
It's
Catherine,
just-
I went
I'm really
over there.
afraid somebody's gonna step in it and we're looking at a lawsuit.
After you mentioned that, I went over there and looked, and I couldn't find where those were.
Yeah,
So
it's
I don't know where.
302 Newport Drive.
It's what?
302 Newport Drive,
Okay,
and it's at the south end of my building.
okay. I did go looking for them. I just didn't
Well,
find them.
When we did our drive-through, I was talking to Mr. Soto about it,
And you
and
fixed
he
them?
said he was gonna reach out to you, he didn't?
Okay. We
What I would
will.
suggest, Mr. Chairman, if there
And I
is any-
think that's one of the reasons why that's happening is Soto's has the drive over, you know, the lawn mowers, and they drive over those meter covers
Pops them up.
and they'll crack them.
Possibly.
Because of how heavy it is.
In,
So I'm just worried that somebody's gonna fall.
according to our agreement with Big Cypress in our neighborhood, if they drive over and wreck or chew up the sprinklers or covers that they hit with their lawnmower, that's their issue and they have to replace them. If the sprinklers break, other than that, if they don't operate or something to that effect, that's ours. But what usually happens with sprinklers and the covers is they're sticking up a little bit. They don't retract for the sprinklers if the covers aren't set right.
Right, yeah, and then
And
this
they hit
is just the, you know, the meter cover where and it's just, one of them's totally gone.
So in your association, you should look and see what your landscaping contract reads in your association, because Soto might have to cover those for you.
We will take care of that.
He said he was gonna take care of it, so he must have forgot. I'll recontact him.
Because one's cracked too now.
Before he takes care of it, that we put a cone on it or spray paint it or something, indicate, because again, there's two things that a government has to do when they find out there's an issue.
Gotcha.
Either remedy it or make a warrant of it.
Follow. Yeah, I understand.
Thank
And I'll take care of that myself.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then
Adjourn.
no.
Motion to
Oh, yeah,
continue this
motion, yeah.
meeting until January
Can't
27th,
wait.
2023 at this location at 8:30 a.m. I suggest that be the motion.
That would be the motion. A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Grab some cookies before you leave.
I didn't go to the treadmill in my case, but I had to grab a cookie.
Or you can get some Ozempic.
Still not available.
You know why?
Black markers.
Yeah. They're hoarding it for their own families.
Yeah.
Steve has a box.
I don't remember, I was here getting, I don't remember them talking about that was the plan.
That what?